the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 7 of the 2020 Karts and Computers Racing Series in Season 2 of our series. As you can see, I'm starting off a little bit more polished tonight. As you can see, we got the graphic up here for tonight's race. We, of course, come to the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in lovely Belgium, in Europe. Actually, speaking of which, it's a popular F1 track, and F1 is going back racing, I believe, this weekend. So kind of fitting in a way. And we are not here in the F1 series. We're here in the IndyCar. Of course, F1 not technically a series on iRacing, but yeah, we bring the IndyCars here to Spa-Francorchamps. We came here last season for season 1. We actually came here, I think, in round 7 as well, I believe, or maybe a little bit earlier than that. But we came here in the Skip Barber last year. Of course, not necessarily a worse car, but definitely a lot slower than the IndyCar. So it'll be interesting to have a much faster and more difficult car here at such a difficult track as Spa-Francorchamps. Of course, as you can see there on the bottom, round 8 at Indy Road Course. You notice the date has actually been pushed back a lot later than it would usually be. Of course, normally we'd have our next race on Sunday, but I will elaborate on it at the end of a broadcast a little bit more. But I just want to let everybody know that tonight tonight will be the last race before our kind of mid-season break we'll be having. So tonight, round 7 will happen obviously tonight on the 3rd, and then we're going to have a 2-week break to round 8 of the series at Indy Road Course. So tonight is kind of the last race of part 1. This was, I only found out recently that this would be the way it is. I'm actually going away on a trip next week, so I'll be out of the area, so unfortunately not able to broadcast, so we're pushing the series back for that. And then on Sunday, several of our drivers were busy as well, so unfortunately we couldn't do that race either. So we're going to have an Indy doubleheader on the weekend of Friday the 17th. So Friday, July 17th, we go to the Indy Road Course, and then not technically a round, but our All-Star races on Sunday at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. For those of you that were here season 1, that'll be kind of our actual live stream where I'm in the race, and you'll see the race from my perspective and ride along on board with me for that one. So it should be a good one. The stakes are high as always. Of course, the winner of the All-Star race does get to choose the track and car for the final round of the season. And since we're switching to our championship playoff format, where the final 3 races of the season, the top 6 drivers' points will be reset, and then the driver with the most points in the final 3 races will win the championship. So that final race has a lot more stakes than only a 3-race playoff. But enough talking about the All-Star race. Of course, we are here at Spa-Francorchamps, but actually, we're not quite going to go to that yet. First, we're going to head backwards a little bit. We're going to go to round 6 last week at Michigan International Speedway, where, important to note, we had a caution-free race. So again, props to the drivers on that one. I know it was a little bit quicker of a broadcast, just kind of as a result of the fact that, well, we didn't need to throw cautions. So I will go to your race recap for that race as always, and I will see you in a moment. And at the Michigan International Speedway for round 6, we of course came here in the NASCAR Cup Series. You see there your starting grid for that race. Posted up right now. A little bit different than usual. Of course, we had the different graphics package. Important to note, if you guys want that same graphics package for tonight, just let me know in the chat. Let me know which one you'd prefer. I'd be happy to switch between them. But Michael Krobach was your pole sitter, as is fitting. He is kind of our oval guy in the series, but he did take the pole for, I believe, his 6th or 7th time all-time in our series, taking a pole at an oval. You see, the racing was great to start off. At the beginning, we had this battle for what would have been 2nd place at that point between Logan Paxson and Andrew Bedrosian. Bedrosian up there in the 22 car, Pax on the bottom in the 1. They had a great heated battle between really the first and maybe 20th lap there. Of course, you see there in this wide shot, that blue car in 4th position, trying to pass for 3rd of Rich Foligno, one of the LPM blue cars. He kind of got in the mix, and then we had an even better battle between them for the 3rd position. Bedrosian took the lead there a moment later, and then Andrew and Michael, the 22 and the 3 car, kind of pulled away there for a little bit. But now you see everybody kind of got into a straight line, which was good because we were able to avoid many incidents. But now the action started to get a little bit more spirited. You see there the top 4 kind of getting into line, but now Devin Crosby making the pass and Max Preston there in the 8 car. Now we're going to ride on board there with Logan Pax as we see Andrew Bedrosian jump to his inside. He would make the pass back there for second, and then eventually they would pull away for their lead battle. But what you see here, Andrew and Michael kind of teaming up. You can't see it in this shot, but Michael's ahead trying to give a slipstream there to Bedrosian down the inside to allow him to get the run he needs. Now you see Bedrosian back in the lead, but Logan Pax's big moment in this race came right here. Just kind of overcorrected a little bit coming off the fourth corner onto the tri-oval. Kind of lost the back end, managed to save it, had to pit early, and had to make a spirited comeback back to the front. He would actually end up with a third position nonetheless. But now you see Andrew Bedrosian, your race leader, teaming up with Michael Krobach, and this was kind of the story of the race for a long time. This like 40 to 60 lap period of the race was just an entire battle between these two. It was great racing, but well, going back and forth with the two allies there. Now with 13 laps to go, at this point, Andrew Bedrosian actually got a pit penalty, I believe, on exit. So he had that to serve, and that unfortunately put his race to an end, or at least his hopes for the win. So he would eventually finish fourth. But for the time being, it was Logan Paxa trying to stay on the lead lap from Michael Krobach. He would be unable to, and with only 3 laps to go, Devin Crosby would make a pass on his teammate Josh Gallagher. That would seal him the 5th position and get him I believe, his second or third top 5 of the season. But well, at the end of the race, Logan was able to get his lap back and come away with the third, but it wouldn't matter much because Michael Krobach would win the 6th round of the Karts and Computers Racing Series, take away his 3rd win of the year. That would, of course, tie him with Logan Paxa, the only 2 drivers to register a win this season, and they now have 3 apiece. So I thought it was a pretty exciting broadcast overall. Introduced the new graphics, and again, if you guys want them for tonight, I'd be more than happy to use them again. So just let me know, and I can always switch during the broadcast. But as you see, your top 3 there tonight, or well, not tonight, that the night last Sunday when we ran this. Michael Krobach came away with the win. A top 2 for LPM Blue as Rich Foligno gets his first top 3 of the season. Was on the podium for the first time. Unfortunately, didn't get to interview him, but he did finish in the 2nd position. Then after that, Paxa, Bedrosian, Crosby rounding at your top 10, or your top 5, I should say. And Gallagher, Lewick, John Guerra, Marshall Crocker Sr., Manuel Guerra would round at the top 10, and then Max Preston unfortunately couldn't finish the entire race as a result of what I assume to be technical problems he had throughout the race. So, well, as a result of that, we now see your race winners for this season. I'm bringing this graphic back, and a little bit uneventful, kind of. We had Michael Krobach, of course, started off the season with a win at Talladega, and what was, I think, probably one of our best races of the season. That was a good time for sure. But after that, Logan Paxa just went on a tear, won the next 3 races to finish, to get himself a pretty commanding lead there for the championship lead after round 4. But then we went to Nürburgring, a race that, well, many would have assumed that Logan Paxa, being the road course expert that he is, would have specific skills that would kind of pull him away from the field. But Michael had a spirited fight the entire time, made a very chaotic last lap pass, and with only 3 corners to go in that giant like 72 plus corner track there at Nürburgring, and he came away with the win. And now, of course, Michael went back to the NASCAR, his 2nd NASCAR race of the season. He'd knock it out of the park once again, and he'd win the whole thing. So, well, now Michael wins his 3rd race of the season, and of course they are now tied at 3 apiece. We go to the individual point standings, and of course, now that they have both won 3 races, it really just comes down to the bonus points to decide the championship positions. So, well, as you can see, Logan Paxa will remain your championship leader for the time being, but tonight's race could change that. 12 points isn't much in our point system, so always the possibility that Michael could take the championship lead tonight. But don't count out Andrew Bedrosian there in the 3rd position. I know he hasn't come away with a win yet in our series, but he gets closer and closer every week, and particularly for tonight, he seems pretty confident that he'll have some skill when it comes to racing here at Spa-Francorchamps. He's actually running a new livery tonight, and for a new team. We've kind of technically disbanded Lad Pedal Motorsports Orange. It looks like his teammate for the season won't officially be able to make it out, so they're kind of a solo team for now. So really, it's just Andrew Bedrosian, but he is still under the Lad Pedal banner. So they changed the team name to Lad Pedal Research and Development, or Lad Pedal R&D, or LPM R&D, which I will not be calling them. I'll just say LPM R&D. So, yeah, so he is now in a new team, a new livery tonight, so he is no longer in orange. He will now be in kind of a yellow and red entry. But after that, Rich Foligno and Devin Crosby. Rich Foligno, of course, a teammate of Michael Krobach in 2nd there, so they do lead our team standings, as I'll show you in a moment. So here are your team standings for tonight's race. Of course, I do this graphic myself, so sorry if it looks a little bit different than the other one. But as you can see, Lad Pedal R&D, a new team tonight. They, of course, rebranded from the one-man Andrew Bedrosian-led Lad Pedal Orange team. They are 6th in the championship with 139 points, only 1 back of Diabolique Motorsports in 5th position, and 3 back of, well, what is currently JM Motorsports. Neither of their drivers, I believe, are here tonight. Justin Lewick has a prior engagement, I believe, with, he's running a Porsche Cup car tonight at Mosport, so good work to Justin. That should be a fun time. Looking forward to seeing how that goes for him, but and then I'm not sure if Max Preston is here. Of course, he had the mysterious technical thing at the end of Michigan last week that put him out of that race. So, not quite sure what's happening with him, but I really do want to see if he can come back in the series because he's definitely one of those guys I think could be a contender for some podium finishes, let alone maybe even a win. So, that is your team standings going into this race. Of course, Lead Pedal Blue and Logan Motorsports, kind of the top two battle. Coming away with the top two performance last week at Michigan. Well, it's given LPB a pretty decent lead to the teams behind. Of course, LP Green, after that, rounding it out in third, over 100 points back, though. So the top two battle in the teams championship and the top three battle in the drivers championship. But with that all being said, and with all of the past figured out, well, now we head to the information for tonight's races. Qualifying for tonight is 1 minute away from being finished. And here is your track map for tonight at Spa-Francorchamps. Of course, one of the tracks that's more famous in the entire world. Spa is one that I do know the corners for better than others. So, as you can see, the world famous Eau Rouge there, corners 3, 4, and 5. After that, the Kemmel Straight, one of the longest on the F1 calendar at least, and one of the longest on iRacing. No doubt where a lot of the passes will be happening tonight with the push to pass button. Those of you that remember the IndyCar will know that they have a button on their wheel that they can use 10 times throughout the race. It is push to pass, and it allows them to basically get a burst of speed that would allow them to make passes for position if possible. After that, not too many other crazy points of note. Of course, you don't really have time for the track lap anymore on board with the driver, but maybe for the second half of the season, if I'm able to record them in advance, then I'll put them down there. But it was kind of a busy week, so unfortunately, I wasn't really able to post to Facebook. But remember, the link is down below. You can always follow the Facebook page at KTC Racing Series on Facebook, so to get all the details and past updates. And usually, if I'm able, I post the points there but after races, so the updated points. So if you're ever curious where your favorite drivers are in the points after a race, well, just check on in there for that. But with that, we now head back to the actual race for tonight. Let me just pull down the race infographic, and we can head to your qualifying order for tonight as we come to the end of practice. I believe it is actually almost over. Only 7 drivers were able to register full laps, and really only 3 very competitive ones at the top of the order. But it is very important to note as we come to, I believe, 20 seconds left in qualifying. It is important to note that Logan Paxa and Andrew Bedrosian will be your front row for tonight's race. Paxa coming away with the pole, I believe, is 4th of the season. But Andrew Bedrosian, this is the first time that a non-Paxa or Krobach driver has started in the top 2 for a race. They've started on the front row every race of the season so far, so Andrew Bedrosian will put his name there in the 2nd position. Qualifying is now over, so we can now head to the race results, or sorry, the qualifying results for tonight's race at Spa-Francorchamps. I was just about to say that I think my dark horse potential winner for tonight would be Andrew Bedrosian. Of course, he keeps getting closer and closer, and he's a guy that he has a lot of confidence racing in the IndyCar series, and well, let alone that, he just has a lot of confidence racing at Spa in general. So interesting to see how he'll do tonight. But well, there is your starting lineup for tonight's race. It looks like it would only be a 9-driver field for tonight. Somebody wasn't able to properly qualify, or maybe somebody dropped out of the session. But it'll be a little bit of a small field tonight because obviously I'm now back on the graphic, unfortunately. But again, I do not actually hold a spot in tonight's race, unfortunately. So I keep forgetting to watch the session rather than join it. So that's a fault of my own. But so Rich Foligno will actually start in 9th. But well, tonight's starting order will be Logan Paxa and Andrew Bedrosian on the front row. After that, Michael Krobach, Marshall Crocker Sr. will start in 4th. A good qualifying effort for him, as well as 5th and 6th for both the Guerras. The Guerra brothers there for Diabolique Motorsports will start in the 3rd row. After that, Jordan West would be the final driver to run a full qualifying lap. He will start on the inside of the 4th row with Logan Ferguson, who is outside, the teammate of the 2nd place in the team standings, Logan Motorsports. After that, of course, not me. I will not be in tonight's race, but Rich Foligno will round out the kind of small field tonight in the 9th position. Of course, some guys have been busy lately, but it's kind of a chaotic time in the racing world, but with everybody starting to get on track and all. So hopefully we get our attendance back up for the second half of the season. Maybe the guys that were going to run part-time are going to be able to make it back out before we go green again in the second half. So again in the chat, if you guys would prefer the old, or well, I shouldn't say the old, but the graphic setup we used on Sunday for the Michigan race, the same way I did the graphics there with the ticker on the top, feel free to let me know. I'd be happy to use either one. Just let me know what you guys would prefer for these races. I don't know why the camera insists on giving me a rear shot of the drivers in tonight's race, but of course we're just waiting for the session to go green. Gridding has now started, so it will be a rolling start here. But this is actually the new car for Logan Motorsports tonight. Of course, you guys are used to, likely, the gray and red entry, kind of the Spitfire entry there that they've been running most of the season so far. But now they're running this black and red Rebellion Motorsports entry. Of course, kind of a different iRacing esports team, but well, they have quite the livery for sure. So I don't blame them at all for wanting maybe a different winner to switch it up a little bit. So on the inside there is Logan Paxton, who was outside is Andrew Bedrosian. The row back, the blue car Michael Krobach, and the Tim Hortons white and red entry of Marshall Crocker. we are getting ready to go green here as we come through the final chicane here, corner 20 at Spa-Francorchamps. Logan Paxa will lead the field to green momentarily. He is on the gas pedal. The green flag will come out. Green flag for the 7th round of the 2020 Karts Computers Racing Series at Spa-Francorchamps. Around the first corner they go. Everybody getting through clean so far. Somebody just dove off the track in the background. John Guerra heads into the outside wall. Of course, important to note, guys, we will be having a competition yellow system tonight. I know recently we've actually done the automatic yellows where I've been throwing them, but no, tonight we will just be doing a competition yellow on lap 15 and lap 30. So important to note that any cautions will not come out until those specific laps, but at that point I will throw them automatically. And we will actually go back to trivia for those specific competition yellows, so look forward to that. I'll be doing it a little bit differently and just putting it in the chat unlike last time, but we will have trivia back, I should say. Pass for 5th position just now. Jordan West will head by Marshall Crocker, I believe, on the inside, coming into the kind of two-part chicane there. Rich Foligno will head off onto the outside of the track. Manages to save it, doesn't make contact with the outside wall, but he's got to rejoin the track quick. Somebody hits by him. I believe that may have been John Guerra, who's already recovered from his incident, so good to see that the guys who had troubles just a moment ago have returned back to the track. Let me just throw both the track map and the logo. Oh, they kind of cross over a little bit. Let me just pull that down and fix it a little bit. That's a little bit. Here, we'll pull down the logo and we'll fix the logo later. There we go. So, okay, well, as we start off on lap 1 of our race, looks like not too much movement throughout the field so far. Of course, Jordan West goes around right as I go to say that he's moved up 3 positions since the start of the race. He's got to wait and let the drivers go by. Good move by him. He manages to make it pretty clean. So, Jordan West is getting back up to speed. Let's just check exactly what happened to him. You saw the other drivers just narrowly dart by him, but he had moved up 3 spots. He went from 7th to 4th in a matter of a couple corners. Up ahead there, I believe, that's Logan Ferguson, who spins off ahead of him. Everybody's connections decided to drop out there, so that's Logan Ferguson trying to rejoin the track. It looks like Jordan's incident was entirely unrelated. He just kind of got squirrely in watching Logan come off, I guess. And well, we now finished lap 1 in the background. The top 2 are right next to each other. That's Logan Paxa for the lead, but man, Andrew Bedrosian, I talked about him a little bit in the pre-show, but well, he's here with a new sponsor, so a new livery, and he seems spirited about tonight. He seems passionate about wanting to win here tonight at Spa-Francorchamps. Of course, only 2 drivers have won all season, but well, it looks like if we're going to get a 3rd, there's a very good shot that driver will be Andrew Bedrosian. We now finish up lap 1. Just looking back in the field, looks like everybody's back up to speed. That's Jordan West there in the 5th position in the all-black entry in the number 9 car. John Guerra there in the yellow and black entry in the number 11 car there right behind him. No, Manuel Guerra tonight, I should say, actually in 4th position right now. Great performance from Manuel so far. He's just pulling away from that pack behind him. Trying to look elsewhere in the field. Rich Foligno is at the tail end of that 3-car pack there. Of course, he managed to save the car after an incident just a moment ago. Logan Ferguson a ways back, kind of darts off the track for a moment there, coming down the Campbell Straight. Marshall Crocker Sr. is in the pits. We'll have to go back through. I'm not exactly sure what happened to him, but that is heavy damage to the front of his car. Wow. Comes out of so a chaotic couple of laps for him. Let's just see what happened. That's Logan Ferguson in the background. So he comes in to corner 1. He just locks up the brakes, loses the back end. Ferguson spins in an attempt to avoid them. West goes all the way around. Guerra goes all the way around. Foligno goes all the way around, so he makes it around clean. Oh, but already nose damage as a result of that incident, so he gets back up to speed. I guess he just, a moment later, just isn't able to keep it up and tries to steer to the right on him and just heads into the wall. It's just unfortunate luck for him, so now he's got damage to fix, but he has quick repairs to do so hopefully that once he's towed, he'll be able to get back out on the track and make a go at it and try to get back through the field. But back up to the front, you see Andrew Bedrosian having a little bit of internet connectivity issues, but he is back up to speed, and he is chasing down the number 1 car of Logan Paxa. Of course, Michael Krobach there in the background a little bit. He did qualify 3rd, and I know he's been putting in a lot of effort with Andrew Bedrosian. The two of them have kind of been teaming up in practice this week, but well, he's still in the conversation, but he's a little ways back from the top 2 drivers. Paxa goes wide that time. That should give Bedrosian a pretty good run down here, and if there's one corner you don't want to mess up in and give somebody else a run, it's that final, I guess the first corner of the track, but coming up to Eau Rouge and then down the Campbell Straight. You got to think Andrew Bedrosian probably on the push to pass right now. Of course, the push to pass gives him a burst of speed that will allow him to, with the combination of the slipstream, make the pass here coming down to corner 5. Yeah, Bedrosian's going to head to the outside. Paxa blocks the middle hard. Now he jumps up to block him once again. So that all-new black and red entry for Logan Paxa and that all-new yellow and red entry for Andrew Bedrosian. Those 2 new cars are working their hardest, and well, Pax is able to defend there through the chicane. I guess he just got a better run off the corner, so he'll pull away a little bit. Further back in the field, I'm seeing that Logan Ferguson has crashed once again. He's got an all-new race car, so unless he hit it, no, he's got a little bit of damage there. But for the time being, we got to keep up with this battle for the first position. Of course, good to see a battle early at a road course. Often Logan is able to use his experience here at some of these road courses and just pull away a little bit. But no, now he seems to have reeled it in a little bit, and Andrew Bedrosian is right back there. Everybody... Okay, so everybody seems to like the way we do the positions now. So, yeah, not quite big enough of a field to bother with the sliding. The sliding graphic is a little bit nicer if you have too many drivers to show in one graphic, but unfortunately tonight we do not have that problem, as not enough guys are able to make it out to the race. But for fourth position, Manuel Guerra and Jordan West with the battle. Jordan sends it up the inside almost immediately. Yeah, that's coming into the chicane here. I'm not quite sure what corner that is. I believe 12 and 13 respectively. But now Manuel Guerra, who will move back to fifth position, still not a bad spot at all for him. Still in the top 5 right now, but of course Jordan West passing him, and he's still in the slipstream. So reasonably, I would believe that, well, there's no reason that he wouldn't be able to make up all that time once again. But with Jordan West just a little bit too far in the slipstream, you got to think that it would be a little bit of a tough time for Guerra to make it up there, at least on this particular straightaway. Of course, with a few good corners, he could be right back in the conversation for the 4th spot. But well, for the time being, he's going to pull away. And speaking of trying to pull away, Logan Pax has got about maybe a 10th that lap to Andrew Bedrosian. Remember, Bedrosian was getting him here on the Kemmel Straight all the way up into that chicane there, the very difficult corner, I believe 5 and 6, that we had a little bit of chaos with at the start there. And certainly last season, it was a trouble corner for several drivers in the Skip Barber series. But good run here for Bedrosian, but I don't think he'll quite be able to make it to the back of his car. So, well, he will once again attempt to try to pull away a little bit with Logan Paxa. That time, though, Bedrosian got a much better exit off of corner 6, and he is flying through the chicane. Gaining some ground to Paxa that time, gained about a full 10th and a half there in that corner, in that combination of corners. So he will move up a little bit closer into the 2nd spot. But further back in the field, again, Jordan West and Manuel Guerra battling for 4th. West is going to head to defend the inside and kind of swerve a little bit, gets on the curb a little. Very aggressive defensive strategy there by Jordan West, but no, Guerra behind him is just seeming to be kind of conservative, content with where he is for the time being. He's keeping it safe there for sure. Again, that's one of those corners we saw Rich Foligno a few laps ago where it can be dangerous to try to take a wide line there and make contact with the curb. But no, Guerra's keeping it pretty clean. And well, for the time being, he's got a pretty large, according to the track map, gap back to 6th, where Rich Foligno lies in 6th spot. Foligno must have had another incident as well, because he was right in this pack with West and Guerra just a moment ago. But now he's dropped back quite sizably, so that will no longer be the case. Back up to the lead battle, though, Logan is still kind of extending his lead on Andrew a little bit lap by lap. He's getting about 4 whole tenths this lap, so Andrew drops back about a full 2nd. But still, again, not out of the conversation for still in the draft for the Kemmel Straight. So, well, that's really all he has to do is stay on the conversation there for the rest of the race. And, well, as we come into the competition yellow, if they both pit on the same lap, and of course they're going to be bunched up on the yellow, then reasonably they should be well, right back on an even playing field in just 10 laps time when we go to our first competition yellow on lap 15. Just to let everybody know for the trivia, as I did mention, we'll be doing that on the competition yellow. I'll put 3 questions in the chat, and then you guys can answer all those, and then we'll do them again for the next break after. I will, throughout the course of that stint, if we have a little break in the action, I will give the answers to those questions. It won't be a slide this time. I'll just be able to put them in the chat like normal, and then you guys can feel free to check them out there. Tonight's theme will partially be Spa-Francorchamps, of course, as we did for Nürburgring. We did the track itself as one of the themes, but we're gonna have, I think, 2 questions about the series itself, some about Spa-Francorchamps, and then 1 about IndyCar in general, because obviously we come here in the IndyCar series. So 6 questions tonight. I didn't want to have too many because I wasn't sure how much time I was going to get, but we're already an 1/8 of the way through the race tonight. Feels like it's going by pretty quick so far. Somebody further back in the field, Marshall Crocker Sr., it's saying has once again crashed. No visible car damage there, so once again it appears that my system is just lying to me. Logan Ferguson, it claimed, had won around 1 more time as well. He is still in the lead lap for the time being. It doesn't look like any notable damage either, so, well, the Logan Motorsports teammates will remain on the same lap for the time being. But speaking of Logan Motorsports, we are now going to head back up to your race leader currently, Logan Paxa. See there on the wing, that all-new entry there, the Rebellion Racing entry in the black and red. It's a pretty nice looking car he's got there. Logan Ferguson's going to come back in on pit road this lap. But Bedrosian once again backing off quite a bit. I don't believe that would be for tire wear or anything, so I'm kind of surprised he's heading back that far. You could make the argument maybe he's trying to conserve, but I think that would be a strategy that at least as far as the competition yellow is concerned. If Paxa were to pit and he were to somehow not need to, I believe the pit window is about 10 to 12 laps, if I were to guess. So I would be surprised if he were able to try to go the 15 for the competition yellow. It is important to note as well that we do have a rule when it comes to competition yellows. You must pit exactly 2 laps before, at the very latest, before the competition yellow comes out. So you can't pit on what you could call the white flag lap of the stage. That being once the leader has crossed the line to start the 14th lap or the 29th lap with 1 lap to go on the stage. Of course, the stage yellow will be thrown by myself when the leader crosses the line for the 15th or 30th lap. So in this case, if Logan were to lead the next 9, come across for the start of lap 15, the caution would then come out then. Looking back in the field a little bit, that's not Michael Krobach, I guess. That appears to be Logan Ferguson there battling with Andrew Bedrosian for the time being. Of course, won't make the move there. A little bit too far back for that. But yeah, Bedrosian, he's having a nice little race for himself. And he was right there behind Logan for the start of that stint. But he's kind of dropped back a little bit, about 2.8 seconds. So he's got a little bit of ways if he wants to work his way back up to the front. But again, it is a long race, so just prioritize staying on track, try not to do anything too risky, and well, if you can still be behind Logan like he was a moment ago in the final stint, well, then you're much more prepared for a pass for the win than you would be trying to make a pass in maybe lap 6. So, well, it is once again good to see that Andrew, if he is prioritizing the long game, because obviously, Logan and Michael have kind of had a stranglehold on the series so far, and I know Andrew's a guy that puts in a lot of effort and practice. Him and I were practicing for a little bit last night, talking to him for a little bit, so I know he's a very spirited guy, and it'd be a pleasure to see him have some success other than just finishing on the podium, as he has 5 times this season, actually. I believe he's tied for most podiums so far this year, so he's having a good year for himself. It's just he's still looking for that win, and I think tonight could be the night with new sponsor, new livery, and kind of a new identity overall for that car. Further back in the field, it says Manuel Guerra has also crashed. I don't see the number 12 car having any damage there. Of course, the Diabolique Motorsports entry, the silver and yellow colors. He's dropped back about 10 seconds to Jordan West ahead, but for the time being, he's still got about 5 seconds of a buffer from Rich Foligno there for that 5th spot. So, well, for the time being, he appears to be okay. Doesn't look like he's at risk of giving up that spot anytime soon. Looking a little bit further back in the field. There is Rich Foligno there in the dark blue cool entry for Lead Pedal Motorsports Blue, I should say. Again, an earlier incident, you remember on lap 1, you just coming out of that, I think it's the 7th corner, the exit to that chicane after the Kimmel Straight. He did come around, coming onto the outside of the chicane, just got in the gravel trap for a little bit. Was able to re-enter the track pretty quickly, and he's actually moved up 2 spots since that incident. So Rich Foligno trying to power his way back through the field. Of course, finished 2nd in our last race at Michigan. So he's got some momentum heading into tonight, I should say. Of course, that was an oval, but road courses really aren't that all too much different. So, well, he will come across the line for the start of lap 7, at least for him. Further back in the field a little bit, just looking at Marshall Crocker Sr., I believe, coming through the final corner. And with him, I believe he's starting to catch up. That's the 12th car of Manuel Guerra there. Actually, now that I look at I can see a little bit of front nose damage there on that car for Manuel. Or maybe that was John. No, it was John Guerra with some damage to his front nose. Somewhere in the field, Logan Ferguson appears to have crashed as well, but he appears to be back up to speed. So, or at least appears to be. He's kind of weaving slow there on the outside, but if he is out of gas, then hopefully he moves aside and lets the leaders by. Not sure on track where the leaders are. Let me just figure that out as we speak. With Logan Ferguson with Jordan West coming by him. Hopefully Jordan makes it by all clear. He does appear to. No, Jordan West has gone around. No, he has massive contact into the outside wall. Huge flip. I believe he did get entangled with Logan Ferguson. Right as I mentioned, Logan swerving across the track. That was just bizarre. Okay, that was one of the weirdest things about. I don't know what he was doing there, like what the issue was. Just went straight into Jordan West, who has massive damage. He'll try to limp it back to the pits. He stays out of the way for John Garrett to head by. But what in the world was that incident? Logan just parked there on the runoff, but that was kind of a little bit blatant, I should say. That was a little bit unfortunate there. Unfortunate luck, absolutely, for Jordan West, who was having such a good start to the race tonight. So may need to look into that post-race. That was a little bit questionable for sure. But we head back up to the leader for Logan Paxa for the time being. Broken away another 2nd from Andrew Bedrosian since last I mentioned him. So again, just continues to chug along. It's just kind of the Logan Paxa thing. It feels like every time I check in on him, he's a little bit further ahead and Appears to be smooth sailing for the time being for him, so not much has changed there for the #1 entry of Logan Paxa. Looking at the championship as a whole, of course, I mentioned at the beginning of our broadcast tonight, for those of you that maybe just joined, we will be going through a bit of a mid-season break after this race. So no race on Sunday, and then no races next weekend. So our next race will be Friday, July 17th at the Indy Road Course for the first part of our Indy doubleheader. Of course, the first race will be a traditional broadcast, hopefully with some new faces as well. There have been some guys for a while that are looking to make it out to a couple of races that won't be able to run the full season. And by the sounds of it, a lot of them should be able to make it out for that race there on July 17th at the Indy Road Course. So it'd be a pleasure to have closer to 15 or 16 guys in attendance for that race rather than just 9 tonight. That'd be good. That'd be ideal. And then on the Sunday, after that, we go to our All-Star race, which I'm really, really excited for. That's one that I've debated, seeing as it is an all-star race and not for points. Kind of inviting some guys out that I know from other series or that aren't part of the Karts and Computers series and are maybe busy some nights, but making it a little bit more of an open thing. Maybe we can get closer to 25 drivers rather than just the usual 10 or 12. So I will, of course, be participating in that race. It'll be a live stream format where you'll stream the race on board with me with all the graphics and stuff as traditional up, but you'll get to hear kind of my input, and I'm going to go quiet at some points throughout the race because as I learned last year, racing it, well, I shouldn't say last year, last season when we did the Charlotte All-Star race, it can be a little bit distracting to try to make corners one after another whilst focusing on talking to the chat. But of course, the Indy Motor Speedway is a much bigger, longer track with a lot more flat straightaways. So there will be times where I'm able to just kind of chill out and call the action as I see it. So hopefully it should be a good one. Hopefully everybody's able to make it out for that. It's one of the ones that I always look forward to. And of course, the stakes in that race are pretty massive for sure. That's just going to head back in the field a little bit. John Guerra trying to pull away from Marshall Crocker Sr. They are not in the same lap. It's important to note. So my father is 1 lap down at the moment, and of course John Guerra is not a lap down at all. So if he were able to pass him, I believe they would technically. No, they wouldn't head it back onto the lead lap. That's just not how race cars work at all. Somewhere in the field, Logan Ferguson, I believe, has had troubles again. Almost spins it out of pit road, able to get it up to speed there. Somewhere in the field, Jordan West gets it all the way back to pit road. Remember, he was running off the pace for a long, long time, but now he's able to make it back. But Jordan West already a lap down. Now he has to go in for damages. Of course, he has the quick repair, so he should be able to make it out before Logan and Andrew were able to catch up to him and lap him. But regardless, that was just rough stuff there for Jordan West. I really do feel bad about that one. Looking back up to the front of the field, maybe we'll ride on board with Andrew here for a little bit because, of course, he is actually starting to make his way back up there. At least he was for a moment, but now he's dropped back about a full second again. So the gap extends to about 5 seconds ahead to Logan Paxa. A little bit further back in the field, Michael Krobach, another guy who I haven't really talked much about. But the #3 car there, the HVP Simulations Blue Dallara there, he's trying his very best to make his way back through the field, but well, unfortunately, he's got an even bigger margin than I would have imagined at this point in the race, already 20 seconds ahead to Logan Paxa, so he's got a bit of work to do. But as we see Jordan West, we've just about to exit the pit, so we will get lapped for a second time. We'll remain in the 8th position, I should say. So important to note that the fuel window is actually opening up now momentarily. 10 to 12 laps is what I was told pre-race, or is to what my understanding what the fuel load would be based on the fuel load that was set before the race. So, well, if that is the case, we will probably see drivers coming down pit road momentarily. And I'm wondering if we will see an attempt at an undercut, maybe by Andrew Bedrosian there in the 2nd spot. Andrew remains a little bit too far back to make anything happen, at least immediately there. I would imagine that 4 seconds or so is a little bit too far back to try and undercut on a guy like Logan Paxa, who, at least as far as I'm concerned, is great at pit in and pit out laps. So it'd be a tough attempt for sure, but if he's able to make it work, I mean, all power to him. I'm thinking with 5 laps to go in the stage, we might... lap time graphic. Fair point. Sorry, I'm just checking the chat every once in a while, because oftentimes I will occasionally miss something there. So here are the lap times comparatively between drivers right now. So about a full second back from Bedrosian to Krobach the last few times by. Lap 8, Krobach ran, I believe, a 2:06 or so. So Krobach having major issues there on lap 8. Not exactly sure what that was a result of, but he went back a ways after that, and that would explain why he's all the way down 23 seconds back when just a moment ago he was nowhere near that far. So battle forming between Manuel Guerra and Rich Foligno for the 4th spot here, so we'll go back to that in just a moment. But we'll check for the leaders as well, comparatively between Logan Paxa and Andrew Bedrosian. The gap, yeah, about a full second every lap. No big problem laps like we saw with Michael there on lap 8. Bedrosian hasn't really had like a terrible lap so far throughout the race. We're going to head up to Manuel Guerra for now. We're actually going to do the battle box, one that I always like to throw up if it decides to work. And it actually has this time. So as you see there, Manuel Guerra about 9/10 back to Rich Foligno, just over a second gap there. They're heading through the inner loop. Actually, Andrew Bedrosian will come into pit this time by, important to note. That's a horrible view. Thank you, iRacing. That's not any better. This is horrible. Okay, well, Andrew Bedrosian's heading in. Just want to let you guys know that. So is Michael Krobach as well. I'd put a motorsports teammate of his, but way back in the field a little bit. In kind of the middle area of the track, which means no long straightaways, at least not right now for Foligno to catch up on, but now we head onto that long secondary backstretch here with several little curves in it. I'm not exactly sure what that corner is. It's kind of corner 16, 17, 18, but they head back into that long curving straightaway here. So it appears, no, that my time tower is wrong. That all resets, but now Foligno's going to head to the outside. Guerra kind of shoos him off a little bit. Nice move by Manuel Guerra to hold fourth for the time being. Foligno isn't able to make the pass there, but he's still got the slipstream. Is he going to try a pass up the inside? On the outside, that was Jordan West, I believe. I thought West had his damage fixed. Did West, throughout the course of the lap, take damage again? Foligno heads into the pits with West right behind him. Both drivers almost crashing there, but I believe this might be the last lap Foligno is eligible. Oh, no. We got 2 more laps. What am I talking about? So Manuel Guerra will maintain that position pretty handily for the time being. Will remain in fourth. Great drive for him tonight. I mean, he's sitting about a full minute back, but he should be able to retain his lap the entirety of this this stint and be on the lead lap for the start of, I guess, what you could call stage 2. But I was going to do the trivia question. Of course, they are on my phone, unfortunately, and that means I can't quite do them in the YouTube chat from there. Maybe I can, but I don't believe I can sign into my proper account. And it appears that Max Preston, I know why he isn't in tonight's race. He'll be out, I guess, for next round. But he is busy tonight, apparently wedding things. So definitely a better reason than any that I can imagine there. So a wedding is a very excusable reason to not be here. But Logan Paxton now heads into the pits this time. So this is the second to last lap he was eligible to pit. So he did pit 1 lap later than both Bedrosian and Krobach. That will be interesting to factor into strategy, but well, he's in there. Let's head on board with Andrew Bedrosian. We're actually going to do a proper on board here. Let me just turn the volume down. But we are going to do an actual on... No, that's not it. There we go. Sorry if that's a little bit loud, but we are on board right now with Andrew Bedrosian here as he comes out the final corner back onto the front straightaway. Let's see if he is able to catch up to Logan. Be sure to watch the track map there. So Logan's on the inside, just exiting the pits, but he will be on cold tires. So for the first couple of corners, Bedrosian will have the advantage. You can see him right up there in the background. My headphones are very loudly playing this audio, so I'll turn it down a little bit. But as they come up through Eau Rouge, you see about maybe a 2-second gap up there to Logan Paxa ahead. So Bedrosian could get on the push to pass this time, try to make the move on the Kemmel Straight. But again, I think he's just too far away in order to get a good run. He did get a better run off of the first corner than Logan would have. Of course, Logan had to come around the shrunken inner portion there, but we'll keep on board with him there as you see Logan Paxton taking the right-hander into the chicane. Bedrosian trying to keep himself composed and not head around in an attempt to catch him. Of course, that's the last thing you want right now is to crash. Manuel Guerra will pit elsewhere in the field, currently in the 3rd position, and he should be able to keep it, unless Rich is able to perform the undercut thanks to him pitting just a lap before. But we should see in the background here in this shot, Logan Paxa up in the distance. Of course, there is Andrew Bedrosian there, now about 2 seconds back. Logan will be on cold tires, at least for the time being, but it appears to not be affecting him at all. Logan is still chugging away from him, about 2/10 that time through the intersection. So Logan Paxton never ceases to amaze me with how he's able to treat certain tire compounds, or certain tire conditions, I should say. But Manuel Guerra will come out of the pits. Rich Foligno is spun somewhere on track coming through corner 1. Let's see exactly what happened there. Of course, with no cautions, I just have to check these as they happen, but didn't seem to be much complication to it. He appeared to just kind of lose the back end coming through corner 1. Not much else to note there. Gets it back up to speed pretty quick. Let's see if he's able to go back all the way to full speed through the Kemmel Straight. He is indeed. So back up to speed is Rich Foligno. That's good to see. But that incident means that Manuel Guerra should get out of the pits ahead of him. He has indeed. So Manuel will continue to run in the 4th position. Only 3 more laps left. Well, I guess 2 laps once Logan and Bedrosian cross the line as they just did. So 2 more laps to go in the current stage before our first competition yellow of the race. And then we will get the trivia actually going because we're going to go to a commercial, and then I have a little bit more time to actually put up the graphics and everything. Well, no, I guess not graphics tonight. I'll just be putting them in the chat, and then I'll read them off. But we now head back to the lead battle, which has remained pretty uneventful for the time being. Oh, hey, the battle box popped back up. I guess it kind of applies here, having the battle box for this battle for the lead, but now Bedrosian's just a little bit too far back for a move, at least in this current stage. So Bedrosian will have one lap older tires heading into stage 2 when we finish lap 14, start of lap 15. And then we will go to a little caution slide. I'll throw up the caution. And then we can get going on your trivia. Well, I guess a commercial as well. Hopefully everybody's enjoying the broadcast tonight. I haven't really addressed the any new viewers yet tonight, but I can see some support there for Andrew Bedrosian in the chat. So Andrew's having a great night. That is what's the word I'm looking for? Point is, if you're cheering for Andrew Bedrosian, hopefully you're having a good time watching, because he's having a great race so far. West and Ferguson both out of the session. Really want to know what happened there. Again, that incident that I guess would have sent Jordan West out of contention for the lead for the race. He'll come away with an 8th spot, which in a 9-car field is, well, it's comparatively not the best spot, but I mean, hey, 8th position in any other series would be not too bad. So just unfortunate luck for Jordan West. Had a great start to the race, and I really do need to look into that incident that happened there post-race. But Marshall Crocker Sr. did head into the pits that time by. He will exit momentarily. Manuel Guerra is heading back into the pits. He did just pit a moment ago, so that'll give Rich Foligno the spot back. This is the last lap he's able to pit in this current stage, but that means that coming in is going to allow him to get passed by Logan Paxa and Andrew Bedrosian. When it comes to the stage, we now head on to kind of the white flag here, as this is the final time that Logan will cross the line before the end of stage 1 for the first competition yellow. So again, both drivers will pass Manuel Guerra unless he's able to get back up to speed quick enough. Does not appear to. Rich Foligno elsewhere on the track has had another incident coming through that very difficult, I believe, corner 5 after the Camel Straight. Let's just see what happened to him as well. Again, that last year, this exact same race, that corner just gave everybody some troubles. And it appears to be continuing tonight. It just locks it up a little bit. Kind of counter steers. Actually, the interesting way heads to the outside wall, which you don't all too often see. He will get back up to speed, but maintains his 5th spot, actually, which means John Guerra will now come up to the 4th position. Still damage to the front nose of that car. He'll get a chance to fix it, though, if he wants during the competition yellow. So, good opportunity there for Mr. Guerra there. He's having a great race tonight. Both the Guerras are. They've held the 4th spot at certain points throughout this race. And really, with the top 3 in our series being as talented as they are, I mean, Krobach and Bedrosian and Pax have just kind of had a bit of a monopoly on the entire series for the first couple of races, winning the 2. Oh, Guerra's going to head off a little bit, but manages to get back up to speed. He will pit this time, which is... yeah, it's legally the last time he's able to, so there you go. Mr. Guerra knows the rules, so he will head in the last time he's available to, and I believe he will keep the position because he's far enough ahead of Rich Foligno that he'll come out with a fresh set of rubber and a replacement fix for that front nose. But we're just about to head into our competition yellow. As you can see, Logan Paxa heading on through corners, I believe, 13 and 14 there. Now up to 15, 16, 17, that long sweeping straightaway. To his inside is Rich Foligno, but he'll make it past without any issues. Rich is a clean guy, so he'll give him the line. And Logan Paxa will come through your final couple of corners onto the chicane. And I guess if you call it stage 1, he has won stage 1, but he's about to bring out the competition yellow, the first one of the night, on lap 15. There you go, heads through one, heads through the other, and we will now head to your competition yellow at the round 7 of the Karts to Computers Racing Series Season 2.
The yellow flag is out.
And there we go, the yellow is now displayed, so the drivers will now bunch up and will slow to a crawl. Currently, there are only 4 drivers on the lead lap as of right now. That, what's the term for 4? Not a duo, what's the term for 4? A double duo, you can say, of Logan Paxa, Andrew Bedrosian, Michael Krobach, and John Guerra, all your drivers remaining on the lead lap. Of course, Manuel and Rich came close, but both pitted very late in the session, meaning that they did drop that lap back. So, unfortunate news for them when it comes to their positioning on track. But, well, Andrew Bedrosian and Michael Krobach will catch back up to form the top 3. Tonight, at least the way I've set it, it should be where all cars bunch up based on position. So, that the top 3 of Krobach, Paxa, and Bedrosian would bunch up all together. So Krobach should be able to make a free pass on all the drivers ahead and bunch up right behind the other 2 that he's battling with for, I guess, 2nd and 1st respectively. But it is now time for your little trivia question. So as we wait for Logan to head through the kind of carousel with corner 8 there. Wait to bunch up the rest of the field. We're going to go to a quick commercial, and I will get your questions, and I will put your first one down for tonight's trivia.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And we're back under caution at the lovely Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for round 7 of the Karts and Computers Racing Series Season 2. I'm just about to post the very first trivia question of the night in the chat. Is a true or false question, actually. We don't often, well, I guess I shouldn't say we don't often. We've done trivia once, and we didn't do a true or false, I should say. So here we go. So your first trivia question is now in the chat. It is a true or false question. The true or false that you are talking about is the first ever official race at Spa-Francorchamps was canceled when only one driver officially registered for the event. Is that true or false? Leave your answer in the comments there. As usual, I will just, you get to be on a slide at the end of the broadcast after all the interviews are done, if you win and answer the most trivia questions correct. At the end of the season, you know, I'm thinking of putting together a prize for the person that wins the most. I believe your winner last time was officially Keith Forcier when we did this at Nürburgring exactly a week ago. He did win officially because, according to what I heard, both him and David Paxa did tie. But David Paxa, from the intel I got, he did actually technically answer with the help of the internet for some of the questions. So, Keith Forcier was your official winner for round 1. I haven't seen him in the chat yet tonight, but, well, he was your former winner. So, let's see if that is the case once again. I feel dumb because looking at the answers, Heather Forcier has put something in French. I don't speak French. It's one of my many, well, maybe not regrets in life. Like many kids, I absolutely hated my experience in French class in both high school and middle school. So I don't even have an attempt to say what that means. I think it means no. I think "pas" means no. So that's my guess. So everybody currently says false. Now the question is, because with all true or false questions, when something is false, well, the question is, you know, how creative is the person that came up with it? So the question is, how creative did I get with these true or falses? There are 2 of them, I think. Let me just confirm if that's the case. I wrote them all down earlier today and then immediately forgot. There are 3 true or false questions. So of course you gotta. Okay, well, maybe I need to Google Translate that, as Heather suggested. But back to the race, at least for the time being. Everybody has, well, most drivers have reformed online. Of course, Jean Guerre is still trying to catch up there. But unfortunately, I won't exactly know when we do go green until we do, because I do not get the details on when the pace car is heading. Actually, the lights are still on. So we might have to do one more full lap after this, which kind of long pace laps here at Spa-Francorchamps. But again, if we did a caution for every time we had an incident tonight, this race would go on forever. So I have managed to avoid that, at least for the time being. I'll post your second trivia question in just a moment, then I'll answer all 3 during this next stint. But of course, we have a little bit of waiting to do. Hopefully everybody splits up and doesn't crash into each other on the pace lap. Jean Guerre has almost caught up to the lead pack, so the 2 Guerres will be in 4th and 5th at the start of this next restart. So Diabolique Motorsports is having a great night so far. Past that, the M&M Racing duo of Marshall Crocker and Marco Felice is not complete tonight because Marco was unable to make it to tonight's race. Actually, I can now officially say what drivers were unable to enter the starting field for tonight's race. That list would include Justin Lewick, who again is away as a result of a racing commitment. Marco Felice, who I'm not sure why he was unable to make tonight's race, but Max Preston has some stuff he's putting together for a wedding. Both LPM green cars, unfortunately, unable to make it out too. So, and after that, who else is left that wasn't able to make it out tonight? Did I say Max? Yeah, I did. That's about it. So Max Preston, Justin Lewick, Marco Felice, and then the tandem of LPM green drivers. So that'll actually help the 2 teams behind them. Well, one of them is JM Motorsports, made up of Justin Lewick and Max Preston, neither of whom were able to make it. So that would mean the Diabolique Motorsports should, if they're able to have the good finishes they are appearing to tonight, would automatically move up to, I believe, 4th in the team's championship, maybe even 3rd, depending on how far they're able to come up. So That would be a great performance for them tonight. Hey, thank you to Bruce in the chat. Always trying to find ways to mix it up if I know we're going to have long caution breaks like this. So everybody says false. Hey, okay, I was right about the French, so that is good news indeed. I'm just going to type up the next trivia question as I attempt to try to fill the time, whilst also putting that up. Actually, for the time being, well, I do post that second question, and we're going to head on board with Logan Paxa. We should have one more pace lap to go for the time being, but we're going to head on board with Mr. Paxa and follow along with him for a couple of corners until I get the trivia question out. And back after posting the second trivia question of tonight's race there in the chat. That question is maybe, I don't know if it's a little bit more far-fetched than the first one, but, well, the true or false you are doing this time is the F1 Belgian Grand Prix once featured rain every year for a 20 consecutive year period of the race's history, meaning that over the course of 20 full years, the F1 Belgian Grand Prix featured rain at some point throughout the race. Ardennes, where Belgium, the race takes place in Ardennes, Belgium. I don't know if it's Ardennes or Ardennes. I believe that's also partially like French or something too. So there you go. We're having a little French segment in tonight's race. Are we going for the one more pace lap? We might be, which would be absolutely unfortunate. This is getting a little bit long, but if that is the case, well then Ardennes in Belgium is one of the rainiest cities in Europe. Fun fact. So in a 20-year period, did they or did they not get rain every single Grand Prix they tried to run at Spa-Francorchamps? Of course, for clarification, I called it the Belgian Grand Prix in the I believe I actually called the whole thing, yeah, the Belgian GP tonight. So the Belgian Grand Prix is what F1 calls the race at Spa-Francorchamps, for clarification. We're going to go one more green lap, which is kind of unfortunate because that first one was a little bit long. This is a very long track, especially to run at not full speed. So hopefully they make it around pretty quickly and we were able to go green once again. But that'll give us time for our third trivia question. Maybe even a brief water break here. So let me just grab a swig of water and you guys can, anybody who hasn't yet can finish up that last trivia question. Okay, there we go. I'm back after that brief break there. Everybody appears to be reset to go for this next green flag start. John Guerra has passed Andrew Bedrosian in line and appears to now legally have the position. I'm not sure what happened there. I don't know if it's where the caution came out or what, but John has appeared to have gained an entire spot on the two guys behind him, which, I mean, John was having a good race, but he was by no means in second when that caution came out, so as usual, iRacing has decided to absolutely mess with everything, and now my dogs are barking upstairs, so hopefully you guys can't, I shouldn't say dog. My dog is barking upstairs. He sounds like multiple dogs, but he's not. But we're going to go to your final lap of your caution break this time by. The pace car lights should head off now, and if they don't, I may need to head into the session and cut a lap off this caution. But we should go green this time by. We'll have a 12-lap stint until the second competition yellow, and from there we should have, well, based on this, it should be either 6 or 7 laps to go till the finish to declare a winner. Well, this continues to go, so I will have time to throw up your third trivia question. Let me just check the chat. Is it waiting for Ferguson West? No, I don't believe so. If they show up as out on my graphic, it means that iRacing has counted them completely out of the session. So it wouldn't be a case of that. I guess it's just people that were pitting late. So the lights on the pace car head off this time, so we will go green this time around. But no, with West and Ferguson out on my graphic, it means they're completely out of the session. So the session has stopped trying to worry about them on track. So it wouldn't be that. So everybody says false in the chat for both straight questions. So apparently I'm pretty creative and I came up with both of those things. But what kind of dog? It is a mini Australian Shepherd. He is the yappiest little guy. He looks like a raccoon, for those of you wondering. So yeah, he's... I mean, Australian Shepherds are already a little bit small, but he's just kind of a little poofy raccoon. He's not like a little pocket dog. Like, he's big enough that he thinks he's a hunting dog, but he's not. I guess in theory he is, but like I'm not a sheep, but I have the feeling that if I were, nothing about the look of his breed would scare me in the slightest. I don't understand where sheep are coming from, but everybody is there we go, green this time by, so everybody seems to be excited for that. Oh goodness, Keith Forcier has returned, and he has also put a French thing. I'm going to translate that just out of curiosity, because again, we still have time to go before we go green for the start of the second stint of tonight's race. Let's just throw that in translate. Oh, okay. Well, apparently we got a bit of a French connection going on in there in the chat for everybody. Again, I don't personally speak French. I've never been to France. I've been to Quebec, I think, once. Only to, I don't know, only for some site where we went to Quebec. We stayed in Montreal, or not Montreal. We stayed in Ottawa, which is, of course, right next to Quebec. Went into Quebec for a bit and then went straight back. So my experience with France is so minimal. Actually, my girlfriend did an exchange to France, and if she's watching, then she would be very, very upset if it wasn't mentioned that she did go to France, because she loved it there. So she went there for a French exchange for school, and apparently French was a lovely place, and she often misses it and wishes she could go back. So, I mean, go France. Unfortunately, I can't think of a race we could do at a French track, at least on iRacing. I'm sure I'm just dumb and I'm forgetting one. But what French tracks are there? There's the Paul Ricard, which is awful. Never drive there. It's the worst track in F1, hands down. I don't know if any F1 fans are out there, but they would, of course, know that the Paul Ricard circuit is horrible. Let's just... Okay, I'm Googling in the background. This is how long this this caution break has gone on. I'm not looking forward to the second one, but hey, we have more trivia questions when that does come around. Oh, speaking of which, I have a third trivia question to do. Okay, we're quickly going to put that down. I've suddenly got a lot busier right now. Okay. Trivia question 3. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I'm just going to put this in the background as the cars come through the final part of this little mini chicane here, heading back onto the long backstretch to start off your second stint in tonight's race. There we go. Okay, there is your third and final trivia question of the first half there, now in the chat. As we get ready to go back green, I have to hurry because the cars are about to head their way through the final chicane for the final time in this current caution break. But your question is, if Usain Bolt were to try to run the entire length of Spa's Kemmel Straight at world record pace, that being the meters per second that he ran for his world record of 9.58 seconds in the 100 meter, he would complete the entire Kemmel Straight in just over 45 seconds. So that is your final true or false question there in the chat. Feel free to answer that quickly. And Logan Paxson will now head through the end of the final chicane here at Spa-Francorchamps. Back up to speed. Green, green, green. He goes green on lap 19 of the 2020 Karts Computers Racing Series round number 7 at Spa-Francorchamps. And behind him, Andrew Bedrosian has already made the pass up to second on John Guerra, who has shuffled back a little bit all the way to fourth. So maybe they had a agreement worked out there, knowing that John wasn't, of course, properly in the fourth spot. The game in the second spot, the game decided to move him up. So all of that is figured out, and we are not going clean, but a huge setup of cars heading down into Eau Rouge here. That was Marshall Crocker Sr. making the pass there, and Manuel Guerra, nice move by him. Right behind Rich Foligno trying to move back up through the field as well. I believe all these drivers are in the same lap, so that three-car tandem of the red, yellow, or the red kind of bronze and white car of Marshall Crocker Sr., as well as these two cars going side by side into the chicane. Rich was up way up to make the pass, but he will move up to the 6th spot right there. Of course, finishing second in the last race. As I mentioned earlier, he's got a lot of momentum, so any points he can take tonight would be good ones. Andrew Bedrosian, as a result, I would imagine, of starting all the way back in 3rd there, moving past, with John Guerra moving past him. He is now all the way down about 2.5 seconds back of Logan, so, well, we will kind of start this this segment the same way we ended the last stint, and with Logan trying to do the very best he can to make some momentum up and just pull away from Andrew and Michael behind him. Speaking of which, Michael is about a second back of Andrew there. You see in the blue HPP Simulations car in the background. I should be sure to also mention Andrew's new sponsor. He did let me know before. It's a little bit smaller than Michael's, so it's a little bit harder to see just from the race broadcast. But let me check. He did send it to me. So shout out to Buckland Billiards is his new sponsor there in the yellow and red car. Of course, he has moved on from his old, I believe it was something housing related there in his older orange entry, but can't quite remember. So new sponsor there for Andrew Bedrosian. Of course, he wants to no doubt impress, but he is doing so tonight. Of course, he's trying to move up a little bit further and close in that 2.5 second gap he's got to Logan Paxa ahead. But remember, for a span of about 3 or 4 laps there at the start of the last segment, he was like tick for tack with Logan Paxa. He was, I believe, about 6/10 back after 4 laps. So if he can stay in the slipstream, he's definitely got potential to head up there and race for the win. And you got to think with 15 full laps, like he's got the he's got an increased understanding of the track, and he's just generally got more practice than he did before. And I'm not meaning to insinuate that either one of these drivers has more practice than the other. But, I mean, if you compare Logan Paxa and Andrew Bedrosian, Logan having the incredible pace he's had at the start of this race, of course being the pole sitter, about 4/10 up from Bedrosian. But you got to wonder as we head to the halfway point of this race, if Logan did for some reason have more practice than Andrew, over the course of 20 laps, that practice is going to be a lot more helpful to Andrew than it would be to Logan. And I'm just saying this is a hypothetical. Of course, I'm not sure. I mean, Andrew came out to our practice officially this week and Logan didn't, so there's a chance that I'm completely wrong here and Logan is just naturally as quick as he's been. But you got to think as this race goes longer and longer, guys get more and more used to the track and into the conditions as it progresses on. Just the same way as you guys remember at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Remember in the hairpin corner where we had the dirt buildup on the outside that was sending a lot of guys around as they came onto the backstretch there. That could be the same case tonight, where if enough guys head off the track, and you even see the dirt buildup there on the outside as Andrew Bedrosian comes through, I believe, corners 10 and 11. But you can see it on the outside there, and if enough of that dirt builds up and moves onto the track, well, that can run rampant when it comes to trying to get stability there on the corners or the exits of the corners. So definitely something to think about, definitely something to look out for. And again, a lot of this race as we head to the halfway point, don't take the current positions as the be all end all, as we'll see to the end of the race, because so much of iRacing in general, especially the IndyCar series, is adapting and changing car conditions. And even if you hit like the littlest piece of debris or whatever reason, you get the smallest change in your race car, with how heavily aerodynamic these Indy cars are, it can make massive changes with the smallest happenstance things. So you just got to be sure to watch your tire wear and stuff like that and think about strategy. Speaking of strategy, I know that we had quite a few caution laps there, which of course wouldn't drain as much fuel as a normal lap, but the possibility that drivers would have to pit around maybe lap 25, 26, that would at least be my guess, unless guys are trying to run a little bit longer. Remember that Logan Paxa, I believe, stayed out an extra lap from Bedrosian and Krobach behind him. It's felt like in the past, though, when it comes to strategy, the driver that pits latest is often at a disadvantage from the ones that pit earlier, at least in terms of track position. I mean, Logan was able to overcome that earlier this year at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where all the lad pedal guys tried to come in early and pull the undercut on him and come out ahead in the final stint ahead of Logan Paxa. It didn't work, unfortunately, for them, and Logan was able to come away with the win that race. But Andrew came away with a third that race, and he's sitting in second at the moment, so well, definitely in contention for the win there if he's able to continue at this pace right now. Speaking of contention for the win, actually somewhere back in the field a little ways, John Guerra appeared to have gone around a moment ago. Let's just head back and see what happened there. I was prodding John earlier on how safe and stable he was being in most of the... Oh, that is too fast. Don't worry, he was not going that fast into the corner, ladies and gentlemen. If you were, that would probably be a better explanation as to why he did crash, but no, he's coming in with a simple line. Same thing as Rich Foligno, just locked up a little bit coming through one, and it'll spin the back end right around. We do have the high downforce package here on the IndyCars tonight. That's the setup we go with for all of our road course races in the IndyCar series, which mostly means that cornering is made a little bit easier, but straightaway speed is decreased. Yeah, sometimes if you get a corner like that and you check up too hard, well, the downforce can't do anything about it, and it's going to spin the back air end around on you. And they're fickle for sure. I was practicing all week at certain IndyCar locations, mostly actually the Indy GP, and partially the Indy Motor Speedway itself, like the Oval, in preparation for when I run in the All-Star race. But no, when I was running at Spa, I just found the back end was brutal, and really any corner. Like it's not a track like we saw at most. Oh, Logan Paxa goes around this time, walks up into the chicane. Bedrosian will make the move. Paxa's going to let him by right as I talk about how quick the back end comes around. Your race leader and the guy I've called usually the most consistent driver in the entire series. Well, he makes a mistake, and again, we saw it last week at Michigan. A very rare mistake there for Logan, just kind of overcooked it there on the exit of 4 and sent the car around, and well, it just happened again. That tough lockup on these Indy cars, and it happened to him as well, so well, he is still in the range of Andrew Bedrosian, but Andrew will take the lead this time by. He'll actually get the bonus point for leading a lap, the first driver other than Paxa to do so. So tough luck there for Logan Paxa, but now he's still in the draft, so we'll go to the chase camera, see if he's able to get the momentum required to pass Bedrosian right now. He'd have a little bit less grip as a result of that incident. Bedrosian is going to block hard. Heads to the inside, now to the outside. Logan will make the move, but he's got to whoa it up real hard to make the chicane. He does make it successfully. What a move there by Logan Paxa. A spirited defense there by Andrew Bedrosian as well. Not to discount that at all, but Logan's still able to make the move, made the late pass there. What a battle there coming down through the Kemmel Straight there for the top two drivers. This just got a lot more interesting there as a result of that incident from a moment ago. So, well, when Logan makes mistakes, he immediately makes up for them just like he just did. So, congratulations to Logan Paxa for getting back into the lead that quick. Bedrosian's going to head a little bit wider that time, and just like that, he'll lose about 3/10 to Logan. So this intersection seems to be kind of Logan's forte, and it appears to be those more high-speed corners there through maybe 15, 16, 17 that Andrew gets a little bit more aggressive on and makes up a little bit of time. I never actually did address the trivia questions there in the chat. So everybody has said false. It looks like Heather and Bruce have both said true. I still can't read Keith's French, so it appears that it'll only be mainly 3 drivers there. Or not 3 drivers, 3 people in the chat there for the trivia questions. I'll look through the field a little bit, see if we have any more battles for position for the time being. Nope, it appears to be at least for 5th, 6th, and 7th, which was kind of the main battle between the drivers that were a lap down there. Marshall Crocker Sr. remains in the 5th position. This would be his, I believe, 2nd or 3rd top 5 of the year. But he is solidly ahead of Manuel Guerra there in 6th. Actually, I wouldn't say solidly. Of course, the unfortunate part of this graphic is it doesn't exactly tell us where drivers are on track. But once they're a lap down, it just puts the lap there and doesn't try to infer about time. I would infer that's probably about 2.5 seconds there, separating the 5th and 6th spots there of Marshall and Manuel. And then after that, Rich Foligno probably about 2 seconds back as well. So the spots for 5th, 6th, and 7th are completely up for grabs at the time, for the time, I should say. But for the battle for the lead, it remains that Bedrosian is still a little bit too far back to get the slipstream down the Kemmel Straight. Now coming up to 7 laps to go here on the stage as we head into the second competition yellow break of the day. Of course, the last one was really long, so it's a shame to have to do another one, but that is how the race was set up, and you can't change it after the fact. Bedrosian made up a little bit of time in the straightaway, but not quite enough to make the pass this time, so I'm going to take a brief water break, and we can go on board with Andrew Bedrosian for a couple of seconds. Well, right as we went to the onboard there, it looked like Bedrosian was actually able to make a little bit of time up through those high-speed corners towards the end of the track, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. Those seem to be the specialty there for Mr. Bedrosian. He's back on the Kemmel Straight. Looks a little bit too far to make the pass for now. But speaking of possible passes, Manuel Guerra is continuing to make up ground there to Rich Foligno ahead of him. Those two drivers now heading through corner 1 down onto the straightaway up to Eau Rouge, which I guess you could call corner 2, this long sweeper where the endurance starting line is. So Manuel is... Did Manuel hit... He must have spun around that time. I completely lost... yeah, completely lost notice of where he was. But so he comes around here through corner 1, gets on the curb a little bit, appears to straighten out there on the straightaway, but yeah, just loses the back end a little bit. Almost enters into the pits in reverse, is able to reverse it pretty quickly, and actually nice whip around there for Manuel Guerra. He's able to get it back up to speed pretty quick, but well, that will mean that for the time being, Rich is able to pull away a little bit and maintain his 6th place position in peace. Ahead of him is Marshall Crocker Sr., I think about 5 seconds ahead, so if he's able to put his head down and get some good laps in there and hit his marks, he might be able to catch up a little bit, enough to at least make that battle for the 5th spot a little bit more competitive, I should say. But Logan Paxa with Andrew Bedrosian about a second back remains your top 2 in tonight's race. Michael Krobach's fallen back about 11 seconds there in this current stint. It's very clear that Paxa and Bedrosian too seem to be the 2 guys with the most practice here for tonight's race, and maybe just the most familiarity with the Spa-Francorchamps circuit in general. We'll see if either one of the drivers goes into the pits this time by, neither decides to. So, I mean, you got to think for the sake of Bedrosian's race, it would be certainly beneficial right now to make sure to get in his slipstream there as much as he can and try to make up ground that way. I mean, the undercut works, but if you have older tires and are forced to pit at a less ideal lap, perhaps, which isn't necessarily the case with every strategy, but well, if you were to have to, that's kind of the last thing you want heading into like a 6-lap dash to the finish. You ideally want to pit on that last competition yellow. It'd be good to the finish on fuel and tires and just make it a pure race shootout to the line. I believe both drivers heading by, that would be John Guerra there for the 4th spot. So John will go a lap down there. So now only 3 drivers on the lead lap. Those, of course, being Paxa, Bedrosian, and Krobach, your 3 lead championship drivers. So with that, the battle for 4th will actually get a little bit more interesting momentarily. Well, I should say that relatively with caution. As you can see on the track map there, that yellow number 4 is John Guerra, and the red number 5 is Marshall Crocker Sr. So that is the gap between the closest on-track battle a lap down, which isn't actually technically true. Manuel Guerra is once again making up ground at Rich Foligno for 6th. That, of course, being the 6th and 7th on your screen. But for the time being, as we stay with your leader, Logan Paxa, I can now give the answers for the first half of trivia as we head into the second half of tonight's trivia festivities for the second competition yellow, which are not true or false questions. Those are just normal. But the answers to the first 3 true or false questions, I'll keep looking out on the track for any incidents, but for the time being, the answer to the first question, the question was true or false. The first ever official race at Spa-Francorchamps was canceled when only 1 driver registered for the event. Everybody in the chat did say false. That is absolutely true. In 1921, the very first event that was meant to be hosted here, a year after it was built in 1920, I mean, racing in 1921, it's relative exactly, you know, what racing officially was considered, but the very first official racing event, as we see Logan Paxa head into the pits that time, Andrew Bedrosian does not appear to, so Bedrosian will become your new race leader. But, yeah, so the first trivia question answer was true, surprisingly. That is a pretty weird fact for sure, but you'd think with a facility as big as this one, of course the actual facilities weren't anywhere near as futuristic as this, but it was still a pretty large track back in the day, so maybe it was the Belgian racing community wasn't as big in 1921, but the answer to question 1 was true, so unfortunately everybody was stumped there, but I guess it was a good trivia question then if it was able to do that. So that was trivia question 1. Trivia question 2, continuing to look out, actually Bedrosian hops on the outside grass for a moment there. Again, he is now your new leader with Logan Paxa pitting that time by. Paxa exits the pits, meaning that Michael Krobach will move up to the 2nd spot, and Bedrosian will lead his 2nd lap of the race. I don't think he is in contention to lead the most laps now. Logan, I believe, has led over half the race, so he will automatically get that bonus point. We're going to head back a little bit, actually, to Logan Paxa and Marshall Crocker Sr. a little bit back in the field. But the second trivia question tonight was, true or false, the F1 Belgian Grand Prix once featured rain every year for a 20 consecutive year period of the race's history. To clarify, when I said that, I did mean that over the course of the 20 years that they ran the F1, the Belgian Grand Prix, which I believe was like 61 to 81. well, I guess that kind of gives away the answer. It was also true. There was rain every single year of the event from 61 to 81, I believe is the correct years. Because Ardennes in Belgium, I kind of gave it away as well because I was also spouting off real-life trivia about Ardennes, Belgium. But Ardennes is famously rainy, kind of like how Americans would picture Seattle. I know we're Canadians, so maybe we don't know a ton about the Seattle area, but Seattle rains all the time. And so does Ardennes, Belgium, to the point where this race, again, 20 years straight, had rain throughout the course of the duration of the race, which for a race that's usually like 3 hours, blows my mind. How is it possible that in the exact same 3 hours every year for 20 years, it rained in Ardennes, Belgium? That blows my mind. So, second trivia question. There's some fun trivia here for Spa. This is definitely one of the most fun Googling sessions, I should say. Fair question. Did iRacing exist in 1921? Maybe that can be another trivia question. Far as I know, no. Because I would argue that neither I nor racing was really a concept back then, but, well, you never know. Well, you do. iRacing, I believe, began officially as an entity in like 2004, and then it wasn't a big thing until, I think, around 2009, 2008 is when they started getting a bunch of support for it and putting a lot of funds into it and resources. But actually, speaking of the race cookie, before we give you the answer to your third trivia question, Bedrosian's actually broken away by about a second to Logan Paxton now that Pax has exited the pits. Now, of course, that is likely as a product of old tires, which of course Logan does now have after pitting just a second ago. Speaking of pitting, Manuel Guerra heads into the pits this time by. We can just cut to him very briefly. But if we look at the timing, and I can't actually show you between the first and third place drivers, unfortunately that's not how my lap times graphic works. But Bedrosian continues to be faster per lap than Krobach. Actually, Bedrosian set his fastest lap of the race there with a 1:58.251 on lap 25. And the fact that it is green and not purple means that the fastest lap of the race was set by somebody else. I would assume Logan Paxa. But yeah, so you can see he's breaking away from Michael. But let's see, compared to Michael, how quick Logan's been these last few times by. So, of course, that was the lap Logan came into the pits, and then the lap that he did pit. So, unfortunately, we don't actually have the proper data to show that quite yet, but I will check in with that in just a moment. We'll actually stick with Michael Krobach for a little bit as well, because he's got a pretty smooth, consistent line, just a little bit slower per lap than Andrew Bedrosian, but we'll keep on board with him as we answer your third trivia question of the night. That question is... trivia question 3, true or false? If Usain Bolt were to run the entire length of Spa's Camel Straight at world record pace, it would take him just over 45 seconds to do so. We had 1 false in the chat and 2 trues. The correct answer to that one, that was the first one that I entirely came up with. I actually did do the math to figure out the answer to that question. I came up with the answer before I could confirm what the proper answer was. The proper answer is 73 seconds it would take him at world record pace to run the entire Camel Straight, meaning that it is quite a bit longer than one might expect. But so true, said both Heather and Bruce. David said false, meaning that that was actually the first correct trivia question answer we've had all night. So David is up 1 to 0. So David, you're coming back with a vengeance after last race, or after last trivia section at Nürburgring Nordschleife. So good on you. So for clarification, the answers were true, and false. I mean, partially true, because Usain Bolt could run it in 73 seconds, just certainly not as quickly as 45. That'd be quick. That would be pretty impressive if a car were able to run quite as quickly as 73 can be considered just over 45. I mean, it's almost double. I mean, like if you were to say like a building is just over 200 feet tall and that building was 350 feet tall, a little bit big. So I understand. It wasn't an exact number. I believe the exact number is 73.32 seconds. I just multiplied the 9.58 by 7.7, which is... the Camel Straight, for those of you wondering, this isn't a trivia question, but the Camel Straight is 770 meters long. So if you multiply his world record time by 7.7, you get 73.3 something. So those are your answers for the first 3 questions of the night. David Pax is up on the board, 1 to 0 after your trivia for your last caution stint of the race. We're actually about to go to your final lap of the stint here. Andrew Bedrosian, as he comes through the final chicane there, will pit this time. So, okay, that was the last lap he was legally allowed to pit. So he's going right to the wire there with his pit strategy. Let's see if I would assume Michael will this time as well. But Andrew will cross the line, meaning that Michael can still come into the pits because he is on lap 28. Remember, that is the rule. You cannot pit on the exact lap you would bring out the caution. So, yeah, Michael will head into the pits this time. Logan Paxa is the only driver left on track in the top 3 on the lead lap, I should say, that does not need to come into pit in this current stint. Of course, he pitted a few laps ago on lap 27, so he will come around the final corner of the chicane. I believe Bedrosian is already out of his pit stall. Let's see if he's re-entering the track as we speak. Yeah, he is now on the gas pedal. We should see Logan Paxa heading through corner 1 in just a moment. We have not as of yet, so Bedrosian's back up to speed. He's back onto the final straightaway, or the first straightaway of the track after corner 1. And he is back up to speed. Andrew Bedrosian will remain your race leader after the cautions have filed out. Great move there, performing the undercut on him there. Is Andrew? Is that the overcut? No, it's if you pit earlier. Okay, well, you could call it a failed undercut there by Logan, but he was already in first. So I don't know what I'm trying to say, but well, what I can say for sure is that Andrew Bedrosian is now your race leader heading into your final caution of the night. But he is only 1.3 seconds ahead, and with some long straightaways left in this last lap, he might not necessarily hold on to that position before the caution. And you got to think the last thing you want to do right now is give up this automatic first place position heading into your last green flag start of the night. And I'd argue there's a level of comfort that comes with being the first place driver on such a long caution period as here at Spa. So he pulled away about a tenth that time, but of course Logan is on colder tires since he just came out of the pits. So he's got some tough work ahead of him if he wants to make the move on Andrew for these final few corners of the lap. You see there on the track map as they head through this particular corner, which I believe is corner number 11, now into corner 12 to finish off the chicane. And then of course that red striped line there towards the bottom right of the track map, that is the finish line. So well, he's gained about 2/10 here through the inner loop, has Logan Paxa, but no, Bedrosian's going to pull away a little bit this time by. He is home free. He should be able to make it to the end of the stage as your race leader in just a few more corners. And then he'll start the final about 6-lap dash to the finish here as your race leader. Great move there by Andrew. Great pit stop for him. Quick in, quick out lap. And, well, we were just about to go to a competition yellow, but good on you, Mr. Andrew Bedrosian, who will win what you could call stage 2 of tonight's race. He'll pull away a little bit from Logan, and the caution will now be thrown. So the caution has now been thrown at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps for round 7 of the 2020 Karts and Computers Racing Series Season 2. That is, of course, your second of 2 competition yellows in tonight's race. We are now at the 30-lap mark in a 40-lap race. Same as Michigan, it's been a pretty quick one overall. Competition yellows, when I don't remember to, or when I don't forget to make the races short enough for a broadcast, they do go by pretty quick with only the competition yellows. Of course, the yellow itself goes about 15 minutes, which is tragic for the drivers because 15 minutes of being in kind of race mode and simmering down to pace lap mode and then having to go all the way back to race mode. It's not easy, I can tell you from personal experience, so I do feel kind of bad for having the breaks be this long. But as we get ready to do your second round of trivia tonight and go to your commercial, so I can get a quick drink of water, looking at the race overall, now only 3 drivers on the lead lap here, those of course being Andrew Bedrosian, Logan Paxa, and Michael Krobach. 4 drivers that are also left in the race after that, all in the same lap. So as a result of that, we should have a pretty good battle for position after position 3. So we kind of got 2 separate battles forming here as we go to your final green flag start of the night in just a couple of laps. But that'll be exciting because it does mean that Mr. Bedrosian, Paxa, and Krobach will have their own battle for the top 3 spots. And then between 4th and 7th, Marshall Crocker, John Guerra, Rich Felino, and Manuel Guerra will all try to fight for those final 4 spots in tonight's race. If I were to approximate, we will probably go back green on lap 34, so it'll be only about a 6-lap dash to the finish here, which was not intended, but unfortunately if you try to set that caution laps don't count on iRacing, it has a seizure like it did last year last season at the Daytona Road Course, where it just entirely fell apart. So any way I can avoid that, I will. But we will now head to your final commercial break of the night, or at least, second to last commercial break of the night, because we always do one now before the interviews. But, well, we will head to a commercial break. I will get your trivia questions all set up for the second time, grab a drink of water, and we'll be ready to go for your second round of trivia tonight in round 7 of the 2020 Karts and Computers Racing Series Season 2 at the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And we're back at round 7 of the 2020 Karts and Computers Racing Series at Spa-Francorchamps. Just checking the chat as Logan Paxa heads into the pits this time. But checking the chat for a few things. I could have gone side by side there. I just completely forgot. I always prefer to, but sometimes you just got to put up the full commercial when you forget. So I was just going back and trying to grab your trivia questions for tonight. I did ask earlier tonight if Justin Luke were going to be available to do broadcasting with me tonight. Unfortunately, he was unable to, but in races like this, where maybe he's busy for the first portion and then comes back later in the race for the rest of the broadcast, it is always open. It's always a possibility. If any of you are watching out there that normally run in the series but aren't currently and want to do the exact same thing and maybe slot in and do some commentary like Justin did for what race was that? That was a race at Charlotte. So I know Marco Felice or somebody, people like that watch the broadcast that run in our series every once in a while. So if anybody out there that runs in the series wants to hop in the Discord, maybe co-commentate with me throughout the caution, feel free. But besides that, yeah, no, I totally get it, David. I mean, guys weren't quite up to the pits there. So, but in the future, yeah, I will throw up the side-by-side. It definitely works a little bit better for the purposes we need it for. So. But now we can get on to your second half of trivia here. We're now on board with Logan Paxa. We should probably head over to Andrew Bedrosian there at the head of the line. He is your current race leader, and now we'll have Michael Krobach, his somewhat teammate there behind him. Of course, not officially teammates there, but they are both part of the Ladpedal Motorsports affiliate. Of course, Andrew for the newly formed R&D team, so Ladpedal Motorsports Research and Development, which I think is kind of a cool name, and it's a cool livery for sure. It reminds me of, if any of you out there watch IndyCar, Simon Pagenaud. His entry there. He's run the Menards car for a long time. But if you know IndyCar, you'll actually have a little bit of success for this next question, which I will put in the chat a moment from now. But yeah, before we go green, Logan will get a pass to move beyond the... That's Marshall Crocker there in 3rd in line, and John Guerra 4th in line. Logan will get a free pass to make the move beyond both of those guys, so he will move back up momentarily into the 3rd spot in line, so that our top 3 will all be together for the battle. And the bottom 4 will all be ready for their battle for the, well, effectively the 4th spot in that certain section of the track. So if nobody pits this time, my hope is that this is the final, second to final pace lap of the race, which would be good in some ways and bad in others, because it means I got to hurry up with the trivia. But Keith is going to head out. So pleasure. Thank you for watching there, Keith. And thank you everybody who's going to do second round of trivia here. It's a tight battle there. Tight battle on track at the end of that last stint. It's a tight battle in trivia, so... Well, let me just throw up your 4th trivia question for the night. I will still attempt to talk about... Oh, maybe next round. I did just see that... see you next round in the chat. Important to note again that the next round of this series will... I know it would normally be on Sunday, but the next round will be in 2 weeks on Friday, July 17th at Indy Road Course in the exact same IndyCar series for the next round in the series, with hopefully, again, some more attendance and maybe a refreshed and renewed commentator, as I will be coming back from a trip next week. I'm going on a canoe trip for the end of next week, beginning of the week after, and then on Sunday, a lot of our guys were just too busy to do the broadcast then, so everything is being postponed about 2 weeks, so we're going to do kind of a mid-season break. Of course, round 7, this is effectively the mid-season mark. If you were to just take the 14 races, not including the final race of the season, which is decided by the All-Star race. So technically it's 16 full races split into 2 halves of 8. So I probably could have split it as an All-Star break after Indy GP, but unfortunately we weren't able to run Indy GP on Sunday, which is still kind of nice because it gives us an all-Indianapolis weekend on the 17th and the 19th before the All-Star race. But maybe I'll just take a little bit of a break. Maybe we'll go on board with Andrew Bedrosian once again, and we will get up your 4th trivia question of the night. And with that, just two things to mention quickly. The first one being that we did just have a driver come into the pits, that driver being your race leader, Andrew Bedrosian, who will now rejoin the track in the third spot. He will, of course, get the pass back up to the front of the field, as well as Logan Paxa, who he sits right behind for the time being. The lights on the pace car are still on, so I believe we do have 2 laps to go on this current caution break. Again, apologies for that, ladies and gentlemen, but we will be going green on lap 34. But your first trivia question is now in the chat. That trivia question is, which of the following countries has not played host to an official IndyCar Series race? Your options, I did forget to put it in the chat, but your options are number 1, Brazil, number 2, Japan, or number 3, sorry, I had the list up here, or number 3, Germany. So 1 Brazil, 2 Japan, 3 Germany. So of course, those of you that maybe, I'm referring to the actual series instead of the car itself, the Delaware IR18 that we're using tonight. But this is more so an IndyCar series question. For those of you who have never seen it, absolutely do watch the IndyCar series if you're ever looking for racing content that is, I'd argue, more competitive than this series at some tracks. Like they have great races there, and I love our races in this series, obviously. But the IndyCar series is a real life racing series. To clarify, it's not an iRacing thing. They did actually do an iRacing challenge this year during COVID, which was actually really good. There was some controversy there towards the end of that season, but IndyCar is great. So absolutely watch it. There are usually 2 Canadians in it, but unfortunately, those of you that know Robert Wickens through the karting community, and he's a good friend of a lot of the guys that might even run in our series. But he did have a very something in the background, and my setup just fell over. So, oh, that was okay. Just had something fall off my desk. No worries. But yeah, he did actually have an unfortunate crash a few years ago at Pocono that has put him out for the time being. A serious injury that's left him out of racing for a couple of years. So a lot of the guys know him, but he runs an IndyCar as well as James Hinchcliffe, a hometown driver here in Canada, who unfortunately actually doesn't have a full-time ride right now, but I think he actually may have gotten one in the last few weeks. So absolutely watch IndyCar. But your question is, in the official IndyCar series, which of these countries in real life, real, not iRacing, have hosted or have not hosted an official IndyCar race? So the answers in the chat are Japan, Germany, and Germany. Sorry, are they shuffling the field? Yes. Sorry, they will in a moment. So when the green flag comes out, Logan and Bedrosian will get the command to pass everybody ahead. So they will move back to the front of the field with Michael. Michael will take, yeah, you can see that Andrew's already moved up a little bit. Actually, Logan has not, which is kind of weird, and I'm not sure why they've done that. Legally, Paxa should be in second with Bedrosian in third. iRacing never ceases to amaze me sometimes, so hopefully this is all figured out. If need be, and it gets too confusing, I'll hop in the chat and get everybody to figure it out. But yes, assured as far as they should, the field should reshuffle, and Bedrosian would line up third, Paxa would line up second. Not sure why Paxa isn't getting the command to move to the front of the field, but hopefully should in a moment. But beyond that, so yeah, so I don't personally understand. It should refix itself in just a moment. We have had this before, but I'm really not exactly sure what the issue is. So we should go to the final competition yellow lap this time by, and then hopefully it will refix itself, because you're right, David. Logan should be in second with Andrew pitting just a lap ago. So we look back through the field a little bit here. So Andrew is in the second spot at the moment, which again he should not be, as a result of him pitting. We will actually go on board with Logan Paxton and see if he does get the free pass by a couple of drivers here, which again he should. Or the other possibility, which I wouldn't have expected, but if Logan has a pit road speeding penalty, he would move to the back of the longest line and wouldn't be able to make free passes. We'll see if he does now, but that is a possibility. So I'm not sure if you guys are on Logan Simulator, if you can see him right now, but there is the possibility that he did enter pit road too fast, in which case he would take a penalty and move to the back of the line, which would be super unfortunate if that were to happen, because that's quite a ways you got to move up through the drivers. I would assume that would have to be the case if Andrew got his position back. So for the time being, that's what I'll assume, is that he would have a penalty, which I don't think I've heard of. I don't think Logan has ever had a pit penalty in our series, so I would be surprised if that were the case, but I don't really have any other logical explanation. So the lights in the pace car are off, so we will go green this next time by, but Yep, penalty. So we've got it figured out. So Logan has taken a pit penalty and will now move to the back of the longest line, meaning that it will now, in terms of the line, the drivers are supposed to be moving around and reshuffling themselves based on position, but apparently they aren't. So, well, Michael Krobach will both lead a lap and get a bonus point, and will become your leader for this final 6-lap dash to the finish here at Spa-Francorchamps. So, with Andrew Bedrosian in the middle of the field, having to move up exactly 2 positions, and Paxa having to go all the way through the lap traffic in order to make it up to the lead spot. This could be a good battle for the finish we're about to see between our top 3 drivers in the championship, and this could radically shuffle things. If Michael finishes first and Paxa were to come away with that 3rd spot, and Michael were to get enough bonus points, he could take over the lead in the championship heading into this 2-week break before Indy GP. So this could mean a lot for points sake. So the possibility is there. But I do have to quickly get your 5th trivia question up there, ladies and gentlemen. So trivia question 5. Oh, I have thrown my phone with all the trivia questions on it away. Okay, so I'll read it off and then put it in the chat. But your 5th trivia question is, which of the following drivers in the Karts Computers Racing Series this season for Season 2 has completed the most laps? So that is your question. So in the 2020 Karts Computers Racing Series Season 2, which driver has led the most laps? And I will put you do have 3 options. They are actually your 3 top drivers in tonight's race and the 3 top in the championship. So Logan Paxa, Andrew Bedrosian, or Michael Krobach. Which of those 3 drivers has led the most laps in the entirety of the season? So let me just put that. Oh, I think I sent it out too early. Or it deleted. And on the broadcast side, the drivers will head out onto the final long curving straightaway there. It's corners 15, 16, 17. We're getting ready to go green. I may have to just say question 6 during the course of the race, but I'm having to hustle here to put the trivia question up. Led or complete? Oh, okay, good question. Sorry, the question is completed the most laps. I'm not sure if I said both, but I should clarify. So it's what driver led the most laps. Or sorry, completed. I'm just contradicting myself mid-sentence. Completed. What driver in the series completed the most laps? Okay, well, we are just about to go green, so I got to get this up real quick. There we go. Okay, so the question is now officially in the chat with a random /. Okay, sorry, backslash. I don't know. Point is, we are about to go green here for round number 7 at the Karts Computers Racing Series at Spa-Francorchamps. We are getting ready to go green. Michael will take the field around the final chicane for the last time. We are going to pull down the graphics very quickly and get ready to go green here. Michael Krobach will take the field to green for the final time tonight at Spa-Francorchamps. Great run away off the start for him. A little bit of chaos back behind. Andrew didn't actually get a great jump on the 2 drivers ahead of him, so he's got a little bit of work to do if he wants to make up some spots. So one of the Diabolique Motorsports cars just dives down the inside. I think that was John Guerra there. So John heads down the inside, actually checks up Andrew Bedrosian very quickly. Now Bedrosian trying to make the move onto the inside, but has Foligno there. But then you can see Logan Paxa just a few spots back. We're on board with him right now. He is doing his very best to hustle up the Eau Rouge there. Going to head to the outside of Foligno this time by. They're going to go 2 by 2. Going to go to our chopper camera very quickly just to get a better idea of his location of the track relative to Foligno. He'll make the jump. Crocker gets inside of Bedrosian. Crocker and Paxa make contact. Paxa hits him. Foligno hits the front nose. Paxa with massive damage to his front wing as a result. Huge contact there with Marshall Crocker. He makes it back up to speed. No doubt we'll likely need a caution there, or we'll no doubt likely need a pit stop there to fix his damage. Actually doesn't seem to have a ton. We're going to have to go to a replay there, but what a save by Logan getting back up to speed there. Let's just go to the incident once again. So this is coming into that, again, the very tricky corner 5, the entry into the chicane here. So we're on board with, so Crocker checks up. You see Paxa try to do the same, gets under his wing, comes away with no damage somehow. Then Foligno makes contact with the side of his car. So maybe has a little bit of aero damage, but overall he did manage to get back up to speed. Let's see if Marshall Crocker Sr. can say the same. He does. So Crocker is back up to speed as well as Mr. Logan Paxa. He's only a few seconds back of Bedrosian actually, and Michael leads both of them by a pretty sizable amount. So 5 seconds ahead is Michael Krobach. Logan is 6 seconds behind that. So chaotic incident there coming into corner 5 on the very first lap of the yellow flag start. It looks like Marshall just kind of checked up a little bit earlier than the other drivers, and I guess in an attempt to maybe save tires, knowing he was on colder tires. But well, he checked up. The guys behind him didn't want to, and they slammed right into the back of him. Logan coming away without any damage, notably, but well, right as he enters back onto the final corner, Michael makes it through the first one. So, well, in terms of on-track position, Logan now has a tough slog if he wants to make it 11 seconds and only 5 laps up to Krobach. If Logan were able to come away with the win here, this would be by far the most well-deserved win of his entire career in our series. Because, man, it's tough to see. It's man, it's really unfortunate because again that's the second time in tonight's race that we've had a driver as a result of something in front of him that he just wasn't involved with for a position. Send him around. It's a shame to see. Marshall Crocker Sr. somewhere else on track. It says he crashed, but he's now just entering into pit road. So maybe as a result, that's a possibility. So here's Logan Pax as he enters through the chicane. Andrew Bedrosian there in second, who has actually made up about a half-tenth at pretty much every corner in the last 5 that I've noticed up to Krobach. So, well, again, remember that Michael Krobach was about a second slower per lap later in the stint than Andrew Bedrosian was. And with a 5-second gap separating between them now, if Andrew can go a second faster every lap for the rest of this race, he could come away with the win here. And he was partially involved with that incident behind with Marshall Crocker and Rich Foligno there, as well as Logan Paxas. So, well, Logan has some very tough racing ahead of him. He wants in these final laps to come back up to the first position. Again, the worst he could do tonight is third. But, you know, that penalty kind of put him behind the 8 ball, and that one incident that, again, didn't involve him in any way, that he just got stuck in. That might be all it takes to end his hopes at a win tonight. So, well, Michael Krobach is up in the lead, which means he will once again lead another lap. He already got the bonus point, but, I mean, Michael was third the entirety of those first 2 stints. Like, he was quick, and he was staying with the 2 guys ahead relatively about the same second or so every lap. But he was by no means catching up to the guys ahead of him, and now he's all the way up in the lead. Broke away a little bit from Bedrosian there that last lap by, but Bedrosian just a little bit closer this time through. So, well, 5 whole laps to go. If Michael can hold on, he would win his 4th race of the season, 3rd in a row. Would become the 2nd driver this season to win 3 races in a row, including Logan Paxa. But we can do final trivia question in a second. I just want to make sure we don't have any more chaos unfolding as we go on. I'll throw the track map back up here, ladies and gentlemen. So the battle for 4th. John Garrell all the way up in the 4th spot. Rich Foligno on the outside. Dives straight into the outside wall. Manages to rejoin the track. Is he going to head to the pits for damages? Or no, doesn't seem to have any cosmetic issues there. So he's going to head right by Manuel Guerra, who just had a slow entry out of that final corner. So Rich Foligno will maintain his 5th place spot after a huge collision with the outside wall just a moment ago. Now John Guerra goes wide. This battle for the 4th, 5th, and 6th positions is, well, I mean, tight as a no, what are those pliers? That's a weird example. There's not a good analogy for it, but this battle is raging on lap by lap, and again, it's not quite as close together as you'd expect, but I think all these cars have some level of minor damage, meaning if they have little screw-ups as a result of that damage throughout the race, throughout these next final few laps, well, that could lead to some insane passes for position. Later back on track, I mean, you saw Marshall Crocker Sr. there. Managed to coast all the way around the track, but you saw his incident a moment ago involving Logan Paxa and Rich Foligno. No doubt that damage is what is bringing him down into the pits this time. So he will come in and will likely finish in the 7th position, provided everybody else left on track is able to finish the race. But further up in the field, it looks like it is kind of a Guerra sandwich surrounding Rich Foligno in the 5th spot. Of course, you can see ahead there the Diabolic Motorsports car of John Guerra, the 11 car, and the number 12 car of Manuel Guerra, right behind him coming through that long sweeping left-hander. So we will keep an eye on this battle as we go. But, well, looking at the lap times of the top 2 drivers here, again, Andrew Bedrosian and Michael Krobach. Krobach, actually, he ran quicker than Bedrosian that last time by. So Michael is speeding up here. Now that he's in the lead, it is his race to lose. And again, I mean, he was losing quite a bit per lap there towards the end of stints from Bedrosian and Paxa, but now he's broken away by almost a second. So Michael Krobach, maybe you can just consider it good strategy that put him at the front there, but whatever it is, he is now your current race leader once again. Well, we will say as we head back to the battle for 4th position, just to keep an eye on Mr. John Guerra. You guys mentioned the battle box. I will also throw that up as well. But that battle for 4th with John Guerra and Rich Foligno as they come through the final corner to start lap 37 for both those drivers. We're going to head down to corner 1. This is a good passing zone if you can check up the brakes properly. let's see if Foligno makes the move. He's going to think about going underneath, but just a little bit too far back to try to make the pass there. We'll have to wait down the entire straightaway and maybe try it in Eau Rouge or maybe down towards the Kemmel Straight, but actually lost about 8/10 that time by. He was right up to the back of him, but lost some space there in the battle box, as you can see. So for the time being, Jean Guerre will hold the 4th spot. And again, this would be the best finish I believe in his entire career in the Karts to Computers Racing Series. So Diabolique as well, they'd finished in 4th and 6th, and I believe that would they'd be second most in terms of the team points in tonight's race, with Logan Ferguson, of course, dropping out a little bit earlier in the sessions. So it'd be, well, I guess, currently 3rd and 9th for Logan Motorsports, provided they were to finish where they have right now. But the two Diabolique Motorsports cars would finish in 4th and 6th at the moment, but I think Foligno is going to do all that he can to push that to 5th and 6th for those two drivers. But looking elsewhere. Oh, sorry. We can do the final trivia question very quickly. I might not even have a chance to put it in the chat till after the race, but let me just grab that quickly and once again keep an eye on the positions throughout the track. In terms of timing, actually, Andrew made up about a half second that lap by. We'll put the lap time graphic up here for a moment, then we'll go back to the battle box. But to compare the lap times that last time by, yeah, so Bedrosian was 7/10 quicker there. Krobach sent his fastest lap of the race, but Bedrosian ran that'd have to be a 1:57 of some sort. No, unless he's, no, I can't read. Okay. No, he did run quicker that time by as well, so it must have just been through that certain area of the track in the high speed section. The possibility that maybe he just has more push to passes left. And that's why Bedrosian is able to make up the time there. But he's kind of stalled out. Sorry, wrong graphic. But he's kind of stalled out when it comes to making up that ground to Michael ahead by about 6 seconds, because he's kind of gotten in that 5.5 to 5.7 second window and just hasn't moved out of it. So Bedrosian doing his very best to push through the field. But again, he started a little bit further back than Michael in that last restart. And then after the chaos around him, even if he wasn't directly involved, you got to think that would kind of throw you off a little bit. So if that is indeed the case, it would explain why he's kind of stalled out in terms of his push up through the field. But I mean, 3 laps to go here. You never know. 3 laps at a track like Spa, it may be 6 minutes, but well, that's a long time here at a track like this. So anything can happen, and I'd imagine anything will happen. But further back in the field, Jean Guerre and Rich Foligno continue to battle for that 4th spot. This time onto the Kemmel Straight. Manuel Guerre went around further back in the field, so he is now out of this battle. But he will again maintain 6th, provided he's able to stay as far away as he is from Marshall Crocker Sr. for that spot. But well, Foligno's going to head to the outside, try to go all the way around Jean Guerre. I thought he was just too far away to make the move, but, well, he thought about it that time, headed to the outside. So Jean on the inside, now going to go cover the top once again. This is a great battle. I don't believe I've ever seen a battle between Jean Guerre and Rich Foligno before, so we will see how this goes. I believe both two local karting drivers as well, so it is a pleasure to have two guys kind of from the same background battling against each other in this particular battle for 4th. So, well, this race, I mean, at the beginning it may have been a lot about strategy and guys pretty far apart on track, but well, now it has become a battle race between 2 or 3 specific battles. The top 3, of course, and then the 2 that we see on screen here between Jean Guerre and Rich Foligno. Michael Krobach at the, Michael makes, okay, I thought he had spun, but right as I go to cut away elsewhere, I think we just saw somebody come off track very briefly. I'm not exactly sure who. That was Rich Foligno there. So watch Foligno here as he comes into, I believe that's corner 10. But Foligno trying to make the pass here, I guess on the outside, just locks it up very late. Doesn't manage to make the corner as he would have liked, just came in with too much speed, had to go across a little bit of the grass there, but manages to rejoin, makes it through corner 11, and now we'll go back to tracking down Rich Foligno. Let's see if tracking down Jean Guerre, I should say. So, well, right as I went to go mention that Michael had come across for the 3rd to last time in tonight's race, we're going to go white flag next time by, but well, he had broken away by about 6 seconds, but he's now only dropped back to about 4.2, so Andrew is catching him, and he's doing it quick. Let's maybe go on a bit of a chase camera there with Andrew Bedrosian to see what he sees, and maybe we can see him reeling in Michael Krobach. In terms of Logan Pax after that earlier incident, you got to think as a result of the damage, he's just stalled out there about 12 seconds back. Again, doesn't seem to be making up room with the 2 guys ahead of him, so man, again, it's rough to see, because what a race he had the entire time, led a large portion of the race, and he will get a bunch of bonus points, and will still likely finish 3rd, but I mean, if this battle up front goes anywhere and results in chaos, he could still come away with the victory, as he did, I think, at some point last season, where I think it was Matt Clark in a race at the Roval, where just a final lap crash was able to give Logan an uncontested run of the lead, and he would go on to win that race. Yeah, Bedrosian's gotten in within about 3.5 seconds now, so 1 more lap to go. If Bedrosian can just put himself on the loud pedal, fitting because his race is full head pedal R&D, but he can put his foot on the loud pedal and hit every mark he possibly can. Well, this thing might not be over. Andrew's going to do his very best, but Michael's going to come across the line this time to start the final lap here. White flag at the circuit to Spa-Francorchamps for round 7 of the Karts Computers Racing Series Season 2. White flag comes out, 1 more lap to go. Bedrosian is now within 3 seconds. Let's throw up the lap time here to see how much he made that time by. He is getting closer and closer, so about 1.5 seconds that last time by. He's got to make up about 3.2 this lap if he wants to win this thing. Logan Paxa comes into the pits this time. I would assume for repairs. I would have thought he'd be fine on fuel. Again, he's on the lead lap, meaning he's going to come away with a third no matter what. Which honestly, if he's thinking long term, probably isn't a bad strategy, but just kind of an interesting one. So Andrew was way too far back to get the draft down into the Kemmel Straight, which would have been a great passing opportunity. So if he has pushed to passes left, well, then there's a chance that he could gain that 3 seconds back. And as we saw with Michael Krobach last week at the Nürburgring, well, even if you're within enough of maybe about a second onto a long straightaway, that might be all you need to make a pass and just throw it up the inside and try whatever you possibly can to go for the win. Again, Michael is provisionally going to be a pretty solid winner here, but if Andrew is able to get that 2.5 second gap down, as he continues to here, every time I check the updates on track position, he appears to get closer and closer. It appeared on my screen that John Guerra had crashed, but we'll keep an eye on that battle as well. Rich Foligno remains right behind him, but only a few chicanes left to go, and then that long final straightaway as they come up to the final chicane, which will determine the race winner for tonight's race. 2.2 seconds back. Bedrosian's getting closer, but again, he's got a little bit too far of a gap to make up. I would guess that he probably can't make quite enough of that gap up, at least not heading into the chicane. But if he gets ballsy and commits to it, makes a big move, he's still got a little bit of a chance, but just a little bit too far away. Gonna head through the final few corners here. This long, winding final straightaway here. Corners, I believe, 16, 17, and 18. It's not going to matter. He's going to head up into the final chicane. Michael Krobach, the two guys behind him had some difficulties. He managed to survive through those elements. He got great track position for the final restart, and he will win the round 7 at the Karts Computers Racing Series Season 2 at Spa-Francorchamps. He celebrates in style. Man, what a race from Michael Krobach, and what an unfortunate end of the race for Andrew Bedrosian. Again, it seems like he's been the bridesmaid, not the bride, for the last couple of races, and he gets so close. Great performance here by Andrew Bedrosian, and he did his very best in those last few laps, making up 4 seconds in the final 2.5 laps. But again, he was just put too far back on that final restart, and he was unable to make up all the room he needed to. But the final driver coming around is Logan Paxa. He'll head through the chicane that one last time, and he'll come away with a 3rd place spot. But man, that is I would argue he deserves more there. That was just a rough incident there at the end, at the start of that last restart. I'll come away with the 3rd spot, and again, you can't argue with that. I think that is close enough that he should remain your points leader heading into the second half of the season. Not sure if it's in frustration or in celebration, but he will do the human tornado there. And further back in the field, Rich Foligno has made the pass on John Guerra, but he's done so without a front nose. I am unsure as to what the scenario is there. We'll have to go back and see exactly what happened, but it showed up on my telemetry that John Guerra had crashed. I didn't see it on the track map, so I didn't think much of it, but that appears to be the case. Rich Foligno will finish the final chicane, provided he can get the front nose of that car through the corners, which he'll have to whoa it up real hard, but he will appear to be able to finish. So, well, Rich Foligno will come across the line with a 4th place position. Great follow-up to last week, where he finished 2nd at Michigan, and now he will finish 4th at Spa-Francorchamps. After that, again, John Guerra, he may not come away with a 4th spot, but great race for him tonight. He has got tons of smoke coming out the back of that Dallara IR18. Again, we will go to the replay in just a moment and see what happened to both him and Rich Foligno there, but he will come across the line there in 5th. Great work for John Guerra tonight. But again, Rich Foligno is parked on the inside there, but let's just go back a little bit and see exactly what did happen to the number 11 car of John Guerra there, as well as Rich Foligno there in the number 4 car. So back quite a ways in this particular lap. Okay, here we go. So they come around the first of those kind of 2 identical chicanes there. I believe this is corner 10 and 11. So they come up to the braking point. Guerra locks it up, spins it around. Now he gets into Foligno. So Foligno was entirely unrelated. I thought Foligno might have gone around in an attempt to pass, but unrelated. Foligno gets back up to speed first. This is very reminiscent of a longer, drawn-out version of the Nürburgring incident with Logan Paxa and Michael Krobach, where it just became a battle of who was able to get back up to speed first. In this case, Rich Foligno was, but John Guerra, again, had a ton of damage, but you know, coming away with a 5th place position is no doubt a good thing. But, well, a nice moment here for the top 2 drivers, both, again, Ladpeta Motorsports guys. This is a replay as well, but, well, Michael Krobach and Andrew Bedrosian did a little bit of a celebration run down the Kemmel Straight here. Great race for both drivers. I mean, it's very fitting that Bedrosian be in that top 2. I'd argue Paxa should be there as well, but Well, it was a great performance from the top three tonight. Whether they were all able to win or not, well, unfortunately not. But a great run there for Bedrosian. I look forward to interviewing the top three because they'll have very different stories to talk about in that race. But well, I mean, this is it's been a great run. Bedrosian is now. Oh, maybe he is completely left. So, well, Michael was on his own there for the end of his celebration, and they're still going around. So, we are now live. I can pull the track map and everything down there because we can go to your race results in just a moment. But well, your race winner, Mr. Michael Krobach, and Andrew Bedrosian, who comes away in second. Bedrosian now getting his 6th podium of the year. Has he finished it at the top 3 in a race this year? I had my race finishes sheet up, so that would probably tell me. Nope, that is not it. Okay, I'll have to check in just a moment, but let's look through the chat a little bit. Question 6. Yes, we'll throw it up in just a moment. I'm sorry, the end of the race got a little bit chaotic, so that'll be your final thing tonight. Yeah, that crash is pretty incredible. Andrew, yeah, Bruce has said what I was thinking. Yeah, Andrew was just kind of waiting to pounce and waiting for his moment where he's able to come away with this win that Michael Krobach did tonight. But again, he just gets closer and closer every single race, and looks like he'll let Michael Krobach ahead to do his victory donuts. And again, maybe he'll do double donuts because Andrew would deserve him here tonight. He had a great race in his own right. So yeah, they do indeed. So Bedrosian's going to head around to do his donuts. Let's see if Michael's going to wait and do his. There we go. So double donuts for the 2 LPM drivers here on the front stretch at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit as they continue to do this and they celebrate their top 2 spots in tonight's race. Let me just put your final trivia question out there, which I had up for a moment. Okay, thank you, Bruce. Andrew did miss the podium last race. So, but final question: what track that we have or will eventually run in season 2 is the shortest in terms of track length? So that's a big picture question. Maybe I can throw up the tracks we have yet to run this season, but for the time being, we still have this wonderful celebration happening between your top 2 there. Maybe we'll cut to Andrew Bedrosian as well, as he is also celebrating there. But yes, that's your question. Bonus points if you can guess the approximate length of that track. I say bonus points, maybe we'll make that the tiebreaker. So your final question is, in the entire series, what track that we have yet to run or that we have run is the shortest on the schedule? And again, I'll put up the tracks in just a moment, but again, I just want to finish up this celebration before I go away. And they have now finished. So again, congratulations to your top 2. Congratulations to all your drivers tonight, because some great racing action. And I know a few guys had unfortunate circumstances that put them out either really early in the case of Jordan West or unfortunately a few laps earlier to the end, like Logan Paxis. So a few unfortunate incidents there, and I really would have wished everybody could have made it clean to the final. But at the end of the day, I mean, you can never complain with the top 3 finish. So for the trivia question's sake, let me just put up your... Oh, I don't have it. Okay, well, we're going to simplify that question because that's a little bit too tough. I can't show you the graphic. We'll fix the trivia question. So what is the shortest track we've run so far this season? So that's your hint, because of course it's the same thing. We've already run the shortest track of our calendar this year, but our races we've run were at Talladega in round 1. Now this becomes a memory game. Where were we week 2? Race 2. Oh, that was Watkins Glen. So Watkins Glen. I'll just rep your results here in the background, and then I'll go over them in a second. But sorry. Round 1 was Talladega. Round 2 was Watkins Glen. Round 3 was at Charlotte. Round 4 was at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Round 5 was at Nürburgring. Round 6 was at Michigan. And then round 7 tonight at Spa-Francorchamps. So your final trivia question of the night, trivia question 6. What was the shortest race we've run so far in tonight's calendar in terms of track length? That's your tiebreaker question. I'm trying to remember what the trivia score was going into this. How did everybody answer the other question? So David and Bruce both said Germany to question 5, which was correct. So Germany is the only track of the 3 the only country of the 3 that I listed that has not hosted an IndyCar race. They went to the streets of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil for one race, and they have raced at the Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. So that is the other one. But back to question 4, trying to remember what it was. Did I post question 4? Oh, I did. That was question 4. Question 5 we'll go over in a second. So that is your final trivia question for tonight. Let me just quickly go to your race results, and then we'll go to your final interviews tonight for the top 3 spots. Unfortunately, I don't have the fancy graphic tonight, so I'll have to just go straight into them. But your final results for tonight's race at Spa-Francorchamps. Oh, it didn't update the graphic. I didn't notice that earlier too. Okay, well, sorry, but ladies and gentlemen, about the graphic for the track being wrong the entire race. That's an unfortunate one I didn't notice, so good thing I didn't put it up too often. But your final results for tonight's race: Michael Krobach comes away with his 4th win of the season, as well as his 3rd in the row. Andrew Bajorjan comes away with the 2nd spot there, the fellow Leadput Motorsports teammate. Logan Paxel will end at the top 3 and again led most of the laps in tonight's race. He had a great performance overall, but just at the end of the incident as a result of having to move back in the line as a result of what we can assume was a penalty, unfortunately put him outside of that top 2 and kept him away from a win that he was so very close to heading into that final caution. But after that, Rich Foligno and Manuel Guerra will round out your top 5. Manuel Guerra comes away with the top 5 for the first time this season. I believe his best finish in the history of this series for him. So good on Manuel, as well as Rich coming away with a 4th spot. He had a 2nd last week, so some good momentum being built there for Rich Foligno for LPM Blue. After that, Marshall Crocker Sr., as well as John Guerra and Jordan West will round out your field tonight, and Logan Ferguson sitting in the 9th spot. Of course, remember that West and Ferguson were involved in an incident that did put both drivers out of the race. I would assume as a result of as a result of probably quick repairs. So unfortunately there, because Jordan West was kind of involved in an incident that wasn't really his fault. So a shame there. But that'll round out your final positions for tonight's race. And we can now go straight to your interviews. No commercials or anything. We're not going to have a fancy graphic. We will still have the trivia graphic in just a moment. But with that, let me just throw up the name of your 3rd place finisher tonight, Mr. Logan Paxa, and we will get right into the interview. And with that, we are all set. So let me just ring up Mr. Logan Pax in the booth here, and we'll get your first interview started. Hey, Logan, can you hear me on the Discord? Oh, sorry, Logan, I can't hear you. Oh, sorry, wait a minute. Sorry, can you try that one more time there, Logan? Sorry, Logan, do you copy? Okay, appear to be having the same technical difficulties we often do. Huh. Sorry, we've had this problem before. Can anybody in the chat let me know if they can hear Logan? If on those last couple of attempts. Sorry, Logan, can you hear me? If you just like put it in the audio chat or the text chat. Okay, you can hear me. I just can't hear you for whatever reason. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we've had this problem before, so I'm just going to head to a brief commercial, and then we'll be back in a moment for your interviews in tonight's race.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
And we are back here. We appear to have the interview all set up. I just had to switch a few audio channels, but everything is now set up. So we will head to your 3rd place finisher in tonight's race, Mr. Logan Paxel. Logan, can you hear me?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we are all good on audio, but first of all, to break down that race overall, it's a real shame to have to interview this early after how great of a race you had early tonight. I mean, you led the entirety of the first segment, most of the second one. I know Andrew was able to pull kind of the pit strategy maneuver there to get by and come away with the first spot going into the final caution. But after that, you were put behind the 8 ball. I assume it was as a result of a pit penalty, yes?
So do you mean why I pitted about 2 laps to go? That's what you mean?
Oh no, you were sorry. You were sent to the back of the line after the pit stop cycle, and you were put at the back of the line, meaning that you got involved in an incident on that very first lap. Was it a pit penalty that sent you to the back of the line?
So what happened is that some strange things were happening with the safety car, whereas, for example, it would say 1 lap to go for 2 laps straight. So I believe the first competition caution, everyone was expecting to go, and the pace car just didn't peel off, even though it said 1 lap to go, and all our spotters were telling us to get ready for the start. So some weird things were happening under caution. I'm not sure. It's probably because of where the pit lane like entrance is placed. But I entered the pits at the time where I should have. But It seems like everything is pushed 1 lap back. So at that point, the pits weren't actually open, even though they said they were for me. So I was given a penalty where I had to drop back to the very back of the line for the restart, and that's why I dropped back so many spots for no apparent reason.
Yeah, sorry, that was bizarre, and the fact that it wasn't like a fault of your own makes it even worse. I know iRacing's had some problems in the past, but um, well, unfortunately that is the case. But if we talk about the beginning of your race tonight, I mean, first of all, going into Spa, I don't remember in the interview last week, but just talk about like your relative familiarity with Spa in the past. I know if you've ever played an F1 game or anything like that, it's a world famous track. So what was your familiarity and comfort level going into Spa tonight? And then how do you feel your practice efforts helped you going into qualifying where you were on pole tonight?
Um, I think that when I started iRacing and I started, buying like maybe 1 or 2 tracks, I realized that the next IMSA race that week was for Spa. So I bought Spa, and I think that I did like 5 consecutive races in a row, probably way more than I should have. But I just really enjoyed driving that track, and like I think is the M8 GTE that I was running at the time. And I'd obviously played it in a lot of other games, like Project Cars, F1 2019. So my familiarity with the track and my overall confidence was good, especially because really these Indy cars, they handle a lot like an F1 car with simply less downforce. So you just move your braking point further forward, and then they drive almost exactly the same. So a lot of the things that I did in like F1 2019, I just kind of brought over to the Indy cars and really just moved my braking markers back.
Yeah, just the same way you referenced the F1 game, but I think the similarities between the cars, as you said, are very apparent, especially me trying to transfer over because I hadn't run an IndyCar at Spa until I ran it preseason. That's why I said, okay, I'll put it on the calendar. But there are a lot of familiarities between the two, of course, different games. But I mean, yeah, the way iRacing is able to simulate the cars similar to other games, where different simulators can kind of give you the same preparation for a track. It's interesting, and that preparation seemed to pay off well. Of course, you came away with the pole tonight. I think you're fourth of the season. So the beginning was going great. Everything was great there. I know that for the first little stint there, Andrew was with you for the first couple of laps. You started to break away going into the caution there, and then after the second caution, that's when you moved back in line. Looking at the big picture, what was your plan there, strategy wise, with knowing where the competition yellows were and knowing where the limits as to when you could pit were? What was your plan going into the race, and is that what you executed at the end?
Um, I really have a plan going into these races. I usually just think that I adapt to the situation around me, right? And I adapt my strategy. I adapt the way that I drive. I adapt the way that I think about the race, more conservative or just trying to be aggressive, trying to make up spots. Say I had to crash at the start. Obviously, you try and be more and more aggressive to try and make up the spots you lost. But, if something happened behind you at the start and you have a big gap and you have the opportunity to fuel save and make sure you don't get penalties, by not pushing too hard. I never come into these races with a plan. I come into these races with a rough idea of what I think might happen, and then I adapt to what happens around me.
Right, and that's always a fair strategy. In a series with so much chaos as we often have, with cautions and stuff going to ovals, or the way we were doing cautions earlier in the year, like Watkins or Canadian Tire. So yeah, I mean that's a fair strategy going into it, trying to adapt, and generally I think you did. I on the start it looked like you were starting to make up some ground there in that final restart after the caution, but with both guys ahead, what was kind of your mindset going into that restart, knowing that well Michael's at the front of the field and he was showing relative speed compared to you two, but you and Andrew were definitely faster most of the race. But when you can see guys like Michael and Andrew ahead, you know how many lap cars you have to get through. Are you in more of an aggressive mindset to get to the front with the last 6 laps? Or are you trying to stay calm and composed and treat every car as an individual?
I think that you try and put your mind in the middle of that, right? So usually when there are less experienced drivers in front of you, it's very hard to do complicated things to pass them because they don't know what you're going to do. They might get startled, they might slide into you. Lots of things play into passing cars that may not have as much experience as you. So I think that I had to lower my aggressiveness a little bit, just because if I maybe startled one of them into a corner, that they might have maybe accidentally jerked their steering wheel, right, or gotten on power too early. And like, obviously, with the amount of power these cars have, getting on power too early can have big results. So I couldn't be as aggressive as maybe I would have wanted to. But I think that after I got past those lap cars, I knew that I would have to, kind of throw caution to the wind and really try and catch the guy's head, because I wasn't much faster than them this race. So, and I knew that, Andrew's really aggressive and Michael's very good at defending. So, I mean, I never got to, get near them and see how that would have played out, obviously, because of the crash. Other than that, yeah, you really just have to think about the people that are in front of you, not how many people are in front of you. And that allows you to think much clearer and try to execute what you want a lot easier than you would.
Absolutely, I think it's very well put, and the idea that you race with guys like Andrew and Michael all the time on tracks, so trying to get to the back of the pack where you often aren't. You just don't seem to spend a lot of time towards the back of lines of cars. So the fact that you did this time, and again, not as a fault of your own, just unfortunately involved in a crash there at the end. But nonetheless, I mean, it was a great performance as usual at road courses from you there. And I know you and Michael and Andrew were able to get on the lead lap. So I mean, the stakes at the end were a little bit lower in terms of position. You were even able to come in and stay on the top three. But yeah, I mean, a great performance overall. Congrats on the third. I know heading into the second half of the season, we got a little bit of a break, so we head into our Indy doubleheader, where I'm again looking very forward to racing you in the All Star race, because it's always a pleasure to run against you on track. But overall, I mean, we always go to the shout out section. So, is there any shout outs you want to give to anybody watching at home, or anybody else you want to give a mention to?
I'd like to shout out my family. I'd like to thank all these drivers, for coming out, making this exciting. Um, I would also like to thank Prime Power Team for getting us out to the Canada Cup on July 1st. Great experience. It's great to go back to like a big race again, and it's just a great feeling, right? And I'd like to thank you, Marshall, for allowing me to grow so much over this winter. I don't think I would have without this series, without iRacing, without sim racing, and I'm really glad that you gave me an opportunity to focus all my skills on something and really try to make myself evolve. And I think that has this racing series has helped me evolve and helped me become a much better driver than I was at the end of the season last year.
Well, that's awesome, Logan. I'm so happy to hear that, and I'm glad that that the series has brought you some practice in the off season. When I know I was getting rusty, preparing for what I thought would be my karting season, but unfortunately, it just hasn't seemed to come together yet. But yeah, iRacing is such a great practice spot for that. I'm really glad that the series could be kind of a gateway back into this season for you. So again, it's I always say it, but it's been a pleasure to have you. And when it gets to the point in this series, we're coming away with a third in any way feels like a disappointment. It means you've just had such a great run in our series that a third is seen as less than usual. So again, I wish that it could have been more with how you ran the beginning of that race. That was, you put on a clinic there at the beginning, you came away with another pole, but unfortunately in the end, just, well, sometimes there are things out of your control there. So coming away with a third, but again, congratulations on that. I look forward very much to seeing what you do at Indy GP in a couple of weeks on the 17th. But overall, I mean, thanks for your kind words, Logan. Thank you again for coming out every race. And overall, yeah, I'm glad that it was able to pay off, and I hope your real life racing season goes well and the 2 weeks we're off.
Yeah, thank you, man.
And with that, we come to the end of your very first interview of the night. We now head on to the second place spot, Andrew Bedrosian, who was another guy involved in that long-time lead battle with Logan Paxa there. We'll pull him in the booth in just a moment.
Man.
Oh, Andrew, it's Marshall. Can you hear me?
Yeah, buddy.
Okay, well, first of all, I mean, congratulations. I mean, second place is after the start of this race. It looked like it could have been a little bit more and could have gone for the win there. But again, just as it often is, you come away with the podium and you seem to have a level of consistency out on track that not many guys can replicate. So it was a great race overall. But I just kind of want to walk you through the beginning of the race. I know you were maybe a few tenths back of Logan most of the first couple of laps, and then you started to drop off a little bit lap by lap. Was it more so of a case of just on the long run you found that Logan had a pace that was that you were trying to replicate, or was it more of a long-term plan on fuel, or kind of what was going through your mind there, and how were you able to keep up with them so well at the first few laps?
So when at the very beginning of the race, we kept out pretty well. Michael and I had a plan. I'd chase him, and Michael would just plan out whatever and just run his race. Because in qualifying, we definitely knew I was the only one that could really keep up with his pace. And I started realizing that, especially with the dirty air, I think I concentrated more on what Logan was doing than my own race and where I was supposed to be hitting my marks. So I mean, I dipped in the grass a couple times, nothing too big. But when I think it was like lap 28 when I got a better pit in pit out deal with and finally got that first place. I realized that Logan couldn't keep up the same pace as he would have been able to in first. I think I was giving him a sense of sort of like a pace on the track. If when I was behind him, when I was in front, he just dropped at least 2 tenths, maybe 3 tenths back every lap. So we definitely found his weakness. He did lock up the brakes before the last 2 corners. Um, but yeah, like that was basically what I was seeing. Like I was seeing that I noticed his weaknesses. I knew where he was falling off.
Right, and those weaknesses again, you seem to capitalize on them. You mentioned the pit strategy there, where you came out a few seconds ahead as a result of a great pit in, pit out lap. But heading into that the final restart after the second competition yellow, I know you factored out kind of middle of the field there because unfortunately they didn't seem to reshuffle the cars as they were supposed to. But Logan came away with some confusion as a result of iRacing kind of messing up there. So he started at the back of the field, and you had Michael a few spots ahead of you there. So I asked the same kind of question to Logan, but what was kind of going through your head there, knowing that a guy that you'd been running with a long time had a buffer behind him that you had some room to work with, but at the same time Michael was ahead of you? Like, what was your confidence going into that last restart?
I mean, I've been working on this setup all week, so I probably was the only LPM teammate that was the most familiar with this and what I could do and what I couldn't do with this setup. And I was just talking with my team. We didn't have Devin or Josh today, so it was definitely hard. But still, we had the upper hand to gang up on Logan. And I was asking my teammate because I was the only one with the best pace and that could outrun Logan. Was just to be another car in his way, make his life a lot harder during this race, and just slow him down because if he can't see my car, he can't keep up because he was dropping the pace right when I came out of the pits before him. So, and then Michael said he was gonna jump, and my job was just to pass the lapped cars. I tried to pass John on the left. He did lock him up. I luckily avoided it. So that's why Michael got so far ahead. But we did come up on Marshall, and that was a bit of a tricky situation because he said he was giving me the inside line, but I decided to go around him. But yeah, it definitely broke some of my confidence right when I saw Logan right on the back of my car. But it just wasn't enough room for him for a second pass on Marshall through the first chicane, and that's pretty much what settled the whole deals for the rest of the race with positions.
Right, and I mean, you talk about the end of the race there that a little bit earlier, but the comeback you made, trying to catch up to Michael there at the end. I know that he kind of had the better scenario there on the restart, starting in first position as a result of all the chaos. But I mean, you did your very best there, running through that final few laps. I know it looked like you were moving backwards for a little bit, but then you seemed to get into that like top gear that you run in, and man, I think you were like what? I think 3 or 4 seconds
Two,
quicker in the final
yeah,
two. Yeah,
oh yeah, like I came out to be like 2 seconds away. I mean, heartbreaking, but I mean, still a lot of confidence building for the next race.
Absolutely. And speaking of the next race, as we head on to round 8 at Indy GP in a few weeks, I know we're gonna have the 2 week break in the middle there until the 17th. But when we come back from the break, we restart there on round 8 at Indy GP. What's your experience with the Indy Road Course? How much practice have you gotten coming into this race out for round 8? And just generally, what are you expecting there for the next Indy Road Course of the kind of double header?
So, I mean, I'm not the best at this upcoming track. I do have a lot of resources and help with a couple of guys from Lionheart, which is a lot better of a league and a lot better drivers. So they're helping us, or at least the LPM team. I know the actual IndyCar series is racing there tomorrow, so I have at least 2 weeks to study up and see what they do, where they go, and how they're hitting their marks. So that definitely is another resource for me.
Absolutely, and we will see if that pays off. Again, as you mentioned, I know the Lionheart guys are going to have a lot of experience coming into a track like the Indy Road Course. So we'll see if it pays off, and hopefully you're able to get that practice in, and hopefully you can have an even better performance heading into round 8, and maybe you can come away with that first win that you've come so close to so many times. But as we do every broadcast, do you want to give some shout outs to anybody at home?
Yeah, I want to thank my family. I want to thank Stamos and Stamos Realtors for sponsoring me. I want to thank Buckland Billiards for sponsoring me. And that's pretty much it. I want to thank you for putting on the broadcast.
Awesome, thank you, and a quick shout out to your new livery. I saw it tonight. It's pretty snazzy. It reminds me a lot of the Simon Pagenaud Indy livery, which I always thought was pretty unique and cool. So, new sponsor, new livery, and pretty good start to the partnership, I'd say. Coming away with a second place spot in your first race, and I'd imagine with the momentum you've been building up the last few, maybe an even better spot coming in the future.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, and with that, we will finish up your second interview of the night. We now head on to your race winner. I know he just popped in the chat very quickly. He's always a very good guy about talking to everybody in there, and know he's pretty active in the chat. So he said it. He said it himself. What a race! And we now have him in the booth. Michael, can you hear me?
Yeah, Marshall, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, but I'd imagine maybe not as good as you are right now. I mean, you came away with what is your second road course win of the season, second in 3 races. You're now on a 3 race winning streak, and well, you did it in chaotic fashion. I mean, well, first of all, I'll get you to talk about kind of the beginning of the race because that first maybe stint and a half there before the second competition yellow, you seem to be in the ballpark of the top 2 guys in front, but it looked like Andrew and Logan had quite a bit of pace. Was it like how did you feel coming into Spa-Francorchamps? Like, do you have a lot of experience at the track? Were you feeling pretty good there? And just generally, what was going on in your mind at the beginning in terms of strategy and pace and things like that?
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of experience here, and we did not have a very good race here last season. If anybody tuned in, we were driving the skip arbors, and I got a puncture and then spun it like 3 or 4 times on one lap, and just had a really bad night. My goal was to come back stronger this time. I practiced a lot with Andy this week. He taught me about a bunch of setup stuff, so I knew that going in. He definitely had the pace advantage, as did Logan. I think we could run, maybe a second to a second and a half off of them, have a bit of a gap to P4. But I didn't think, especially as the race started, that I had pace to challenge for the win. I felt okay in practice, but as the race started, the track conditions seemed a little bit different, and the back end was a little bit loose. So we did adjust on the car in the final stint, and that did help it in terms of the handling. We changed the ARB settings on the rear, and that gave it a bit more security on corner exit. But the first stint, I was kind of just comfortably riding in third, knowing that a caution was coming. No sense to push it. I was trying to go for the 0x bonus point. Unfortunately, I screwed up and ran off the track and got some of that runoff curb, and that threw that out the window. So from then on, it was just about kind of keeping it solidly in third, and then seeing how the cautions flew. And the way that iRacing handled the cautions at Spa was interesting. I thought the pits would open on the first lap of caution. Usually at a NASCAR race, sometimes a shorter track, they'll open up the pits on the first lap, but they made us go around a second time, and that actually changed the fuel strategy. I was committed to stopping on lap 10, lap 20, and lap 30 and doing it that way. But we pitted on 10, and then we didn't get the pits open when I thought we would under caution. And what that did is it put us in a fuel window to stretch it to lap 28, fuel save in that little gap between 28 and the caution coming out, and then stay out at the end. And that's what won us the race. So being slow pays off.
In a way, you could say that, yes. But I mean, you were still running, like, I mean, third quickest in the field most of the day. On that final stint, I'd argue you were running second quickest, or even a little bit quicker than Andrew in those final few laps. But I mean, coming out of the, as you mentioned, that caution break, which was a little bit chaotic. I know some of the guys in behind were confused about positioning, and I know Logan got shuffled to the back of the line for some reason. But I mean, going into the restart, knowing that you're sitting in first there with a bit of a buffer to Andrew, and then Logan behind, knowing how quick they'd been at the start of the race, and knowing that you were coming on a conservation strategy, were you feeling a level of confidence, and were you trying to drive a little bit more conservatively and hoping that they would have some issues with the traffic, or were you just thinking like guns blazing, full out, try to pull away as quick as you could?
Yeah, a few different things there. So because we were behind during the pit cycle there on 28, we were about 15 seconds behind going into that round of pit stops, and so me coming out of the pits, I would not cycle back and fight with the leaders. So Andy had to push. He got out right around Logan, and he needed to push to stay in front of him or stay at least close to him. Whereas I was 25 seconds back when I came out, and so I just kicked it into map 8 and fuel saved, and that worked out. And then Logan was off cycle on pit strategy, and he needed to pit on fuel sooner than us. And when he wanted to come on pit road was still closed because they didn't open the pits for the first time by like you'd think. So he actually got an end of line penalty for pitting too soon under that caution. And so he had to start behind Andy no matter what. So that kind of gave Andy a free pit stop. And so what we plan to do as a Loud Pedal affiliate team was just split the strategy. I would stay out, and Andy wanted to push, and so he got some fuel, so he had to have enough for sure for push to pass. And he knew that he'd have a free stop to come out in front of Logan no matter what. And I thought he was faster than me, and so I had the lead, and I had 2 lap cars in between, and Andy right behind them. And I thought, with him being that close, he'd probably get to me, and I would just let him go if he was that much faster. But we got a really good restart, and I didn't expect that. And the lap traffic kind of helped us, and we were able to get on the button and use the push to pass and pull a 6-second gap, and that was the difference. Like, I'm not gonna roll over and hand somebody a win, but I was thinking that Andy was faster, and if we were half a second or 1 second off, I'd let him go at the top of Radion, and that would be that. But it worked out in our favor, and 3 straight points wins, and 4 straight if you count the practice race. So we're on a bit of a roll here, and just looking forward to the next time.
Absolutely. You've just been on a bit of a tear as of late. And I mean, again, you talk about you broke away about by 6 seconds there. And I know Andrew was quicker, but you did everything you needed to in those final few laps to kind of decrease the amount that he was able to catch us. So, well, you came away with a win, and a very well deserved one, especially if as you talked about, you didn't quite have as much experience as on iRacing at Spa as Andrew claimed you did, because he sounded pretty confident coming in. But well, you come away with again, as you said, another win, 4th of the season, which puts you at the lead in terms of the wins leaderboard between you and Logan. I'm not sure as of points yet. I would think Logan would still have maybe a point in hand on you, but
Yeah, he is 6 back. I'm 6 back now, so it's tightening up.
oh, okay. Well, there you go. So as we head into kind of section 2 of our season, the 2-week break, of course, in the middle, that makes the points even closer and gets that top 3 battle between you, Andrew, and Logan even better for the final few races. But well, as we speak of the 2-week break into our kind of Indianapolis doubleheader there, the doubleheader weekend on Friday and then the All-Star race on Sunday. When it comes to that combination of both the road course and the oval, first of all, what are you feeling more confident for? And what are you expecting? What's your mindset going into the second half of the season?
Looking forward to running the All-Star race on the oval. I do like that. I've run the IndyCar there quite a bit, and we just did a stock car race there, and the stock car race was a lot of fun. The Cup car had a lot of tire wear, so who knows? Maybe I'll pick that track to come back to if I happen to win. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to that. Road course, I have never driven that in my life. Maybe back in the day on like F1 2002 or something like that. When the F1 cars used to race there, but never on iRacing, so I've never seen that track before. But we'll learn, and we'll lean on the teammates, and I know the Lionheart League runs there a lot, and so we'll draw on their expertise. I know Mark Cohn sent me a video of his laps and stuff, so I'll study that. Shout out to the DMLC Racing channel. Subscribe to him on YouTube. He's actually sponsoring a stock car now, so he's on the side of a stock car too. But looking forward to that. The Roval will be fun to come back to. Mid-Ohio, stock car's fun. Never driven IndyCar there. Daytona Road Course, that'll be fun. Loved that last year. And Pocono Oval, to end the regular season or somewhere in between. That'll be a lot of fun too. So it'll be a fun second half. I could definitely use a break. Running 4 nights a week is really tiring, but it's a lot of fun. But I'll probably pass out on the couch for a little bit.
Most certainly, fair enough. And you ended the first half of the season in the best way possible to get a bit of a break, bit of a reset, and head into those final few races you mentioned. And I'm looking forward to seeing how those races go. And well, as we always do at the end of our interviews, do you want to give a quick shout out or give a sponsor shout out at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. I got to thank Andy for putting all the seat time. He said he was practicing since 10 a.m. this morning, and so he had a lot of seat time, learned a lot, and really helped me get up to speed here. So I couldn't have won this race without him. I got to thank Rich, being a great teammate, helping us out tonight as well. Devin and Josh couldn't run tonight, unfortunately, but great to have them on the team as well. Thank HPP Simulation, Clipping That Apex, Thumbs Up, Cancer Down, Sim Racing Apps, Ready to Frag, Fleximation Systems, Host Venom, CJ Automotive, Amazon by Adam Blattle, Graphics, who painted our IndyCar tonight, and Spotlights. Spotter system was perfect tonight and really helped us, figuring out where we were on track at all times.
That is awesome. Well, again, thank you, Michael, coming away with the 4th win of the season, doing so for the second time this year at a road course. And again, those many sponsors are well deserved because you're a great iRacer and you've proven it again tonight. So 4th win of the season, heading into the second half. Let's see if you can make that total even higher. But well, for the time being, have a great 2-week break before we come back on round 8 on July 17th. And for the time being, have a good rest of your night, have a good rest of your weekend, and we will see you on July 17th.
Thanks so much, Marshall. Thanks for putting on this league and all the broadcasts. They're fun to watch. It's my guilty pleasure there at the end of a workday, turning into the broadcast and seeing what I missed in the races. So I love doing that, and have fun camping.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it should be a good time, and it'll be a shame to be away from this for a little bit. But hey, I could always use a break too.
Absolutely. Hardworking man.
Thank you. You as well. So, have a great rest of your night, Michael.
Take care, buddy.
And with that, we wrap up your final interview of tonight's race at round 7 at Spa-Francorchamps in the 2020 Karts Computers Racing Series Season 2. Let's pull down your interview graphic here. We will put up your winner for trivia. I do officially know the winner. I can now reveal the correct answer to the final trivia question tonight. Of course, with the way the cautions went and how they rolled a bit quicker than at Nürburgring, it meant that well, I didn't have quite as much time, but the correct answer will be posted in just a second, and I have made the graphic for tonight's trivia winner. The correct answer to the 6th trivia question tonight, who has completed the most laps in the current Karts and Computers Racing Series going into tonight's race? I believe that answer will remain the same, but the correct answer to that question is Andrew Bedrosian of the top 3 drivers that you were given. Andrew has actually he's completed the most laps. I don't believe he's led the most, but by no means. He's quite far off the margin, but he has completed the most, so he does win that award, and that is the correct answer to your final trivia question. So we'll put up your trivia winner graphic here. Mr. David Pax is tonight's trivia winner for our kind of second trivia festivities of the season. So that is your correct final answer. I would go back over them, but David wins with 2 correct answers out of 6 tonight. So pretty tough questions, I could say. The true or falses were kind of fun. So, well, congratulations to David, and thanks everybody for playing along in the chat. It makes those long cautions go by a little bit quicker. But after that, we will just throw up your final race results one more time. I might also throw up the tracks remaining in this season as we head into our 2-week break, but I will throw them up just so everybody knows where we are expected to go for the rest of the year. But we will go back to your race results quickly for tonight's final. There we go. Tonight's final results. So your final order will once again be Krobach, Bedrosian, Paxa, your top 3 in the championship and top 3 in tonight's race. After that, Rich Foligno, Manuel Guerra will round out your top 5. Manuel getting his best finish of the season. Rich coming away with the second top 5 in a row. After that, Marshall Crocker Sr. finishing in the 6th spot, John Guerra finishing in 7th, and then the 2 drivers who were unable to finish tonight's race, both Jordan West and Logan Ferguson, finishing in 8th and 9th respectively. Again, apologies, ladies and gentlemen, for the wrong track logo being up on that graphic. Let me just pull that down, and we will quickly throw up your tracks remaining. No, we won't, because that's not a graphic either. So, just to let you guys know again, in 2 weeks we go back to the Indy Road Course. We've never done the road course, but we go back to Indy. So go back to Indy Road Course in the Dallara I-18 in 2 weeks on July 17th. And then that Sunday is the All-Star Race at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for 100 laps for the Indy 250. And then the week after that, I believe we go to Charlotte Roval, and then Mid-Ohio, once again in the IndyCar. And then after that, we go to Pocono, I think. I'm going based on what Michael said because he remembered better than I did. But after that, then it's Pocono, Laguna Seca, and Daytona, and then the All-Star Race winners pick for the rest of the season. So those are the tracks that'll round off your season. But that will bring us to the end of tonight's broadcast. Again, thank you everybody for watching. It's been again a pleasure to have as many people as we did tonight in the chat. And I know the race participation was a little bit short tonight, only 9 full racing guys. But hopefully, as we get the 2-week break here, we can kind of reset and get everybody that would normally run back out and get some even bigger crowds for these, or some even bigger participation bases for these races. So, thank you everybody once again for watching. It's been a pleasure to have you all, and thank you for participating in the chat. And I'm doing trivia. I can see he won without cheating in the chat. So, congrats to David Pax again, his first official win in our kind of series trivia here. But overall, thank you again everybody for watching. We will see you in 2 weeks after the brief break mid-season on July 17th for round number 8 at Daytona, or sorry, not Daytona, Indy Road Course. And with that, we will come to the end of your broadcast tonight. So thank you everybody for watching the 2020 Karts Computers Racing Series Season 2, round number 7 at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Have a good rest of your week and weekend, and have a great 2 weeks, everybody.